Good morning, everyone. My name is Barbara Anyo. I represent Lady Umbrella. We deal in promotional items located in Namgongo.
My name is Muhinda Tony Robert from Harris Energies.
Good morning, Dr. Alan Edward Karisubula. I'm in the medical sector. We do dental services and located at plot 714 Avenue, just down the road.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Wange John Bosco. I'm representing Answer Investment Limited. We are dealing in safety. Thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Edwin Kugonza from Harris Energy.
Katsima McLean from Schedule Consults Limited. We deal in many things, products and services. But for Total, we offer refreshments and that.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tumihiro Priska. I work with SGS Uganda. I'm in charge of business development. So if you're importing or exporting, please, you can reach out to me.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Herbert Mukasa, representing Herbert's Confectionery. We deal in confectionaries for all functions, and we are located in Chengera. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Wycliffe. I'm in the business of audiovisual events management, both for B2C and B2B clients.
Tamim Ebade, I work for Services Limited. We supply protective equipment for person and collective, but we also offer HSE consultants and trade and support it like you management system.
Good morning, team. My name is Houston Kubi. I represent Advantage Services. We do extension of power, both renewable and non-renewable energy.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Specious Anamwiga. I work at the IEC as the legal associate and the executive assistant. Happy to have you all here. We hope this workshop will impact some knowledge so that you're more compliant to participate in the sector.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Natongo Lilian from Wako Establishments. We deal in safety, PPEs, and medical. We are found at Aropa Plaza.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Zesenga Benjamin, representing PPE Center. We deal in personal protective equipment and HSE services.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Janita. I work with Dagan Bragan. We're pest control and cleaning. Good for us. We have a few projects down there, but yeah, the expectation is that we'll learn something new.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Rebecca Kisolo. An advocate working with non-reg block consultants and advocates. I'm anxious to learn everything there is about compliance in the gas and oil sector. Thank you.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Sebuma Yusuf. I work as operations manager from Master Vault Energy System. We deal in renewable energy and power line construction.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Niwamanya Ruth. I am representing Quera Limited. We manufacture and supply garments and PPE.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Harriet Nakasaka. I'm representing Quality Tools Uganda Limited. We are sole distributors of Bako brand in Uganda. We are located along Kisubi, Entebbe Road.
Good morning, Jonah Mangen. I work with Joab Solutions Limited. We are into the supply of personal protective equipment and general supply.
Good morning, I'm Osbert Asimwe. I represent Candela Engineering and Supplies Limited. And in the oil and gas, we do general supplies. We also do electrical installation and AC services. Thank you. We are located at East African Road in Chambogo. Thank you.
Good morning, team. My name is Bridget Abigawa. I am a project manager at VECTAC Uganda Limited, and we do road constructions, civil works for the oil and gas sector and material supplies. Thank you.
Yes, good morning, everyone. I'm Chikala Jesishon, project manager, Icon Industrial Services. We offer core analysis services and various tests in the oil and gas industry. We're located along Lumumba Avenue in Nakasero. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Matkunda Daniel. I'm a lawyer working with Katia and Company Advocates. We are located at Crescent Towers, and we deal with clients that do general supplies in the oil and gas sector. Thank you.
My name is Herbert Chomhendo. I represent JPP Engineering. We deal with medical industry. So we do medical gases. We also supply air compressors and vacuum pumps.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Juliet Naroga Chaze. I'm here for DMAC Investments Limited, and I'm a power constructor, both in the HV and LV distribution network. Thank you.
Morning. My name is Okia Emmanuel, and I'm representing Good Time Security Services, which is a company that specializes in providing corporate security solutions. And we are at plot 18, Matters Driving in Tinda.
Anselm Jonah Kirungi is my name from the Assessment and Skilling Center task. We do capacity building in the fields of welding, scaffolding, and any other technical trainings. We also do HSE trainings and other soft skills. And as key players in this sector, we hope that we shall learn quite a lot of information that will help us become ambassadors that will transform or share the same details to other players that we do interact with. Thank you.
Still from the Assessment and Skilling Center.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Frank Nganda, representing Zevsax Constructors Uganda Limited. In oil and gas sector, we are general construction contractors. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Anyovi Christopher, representing Lanoa Agricultural Consult Limited. Thank you.
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name is Balaba Edwin Dash. I represent our RSC Group. We are industrial service providers.
Good morning, friends. I'm Stephen Sevume, and I'm representing Samara Textiles. We do interior fittings, oil and gas sector.
Morning, everyone. My name is Alan Mwestigwa from Orbit IT Solutions. We deal in IT.
Good morning, everyone. Paul Sal is my name. I come from Vivian Logistics. We deal in both logistics and engineering. We do low and high power, and we also do anything to do with general supply.
Good morning.
My name is Bosco Gumuserza. I'm representing Anchor Safety Options Limited. We supply PPEs. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Linda Janet from Sadrin Infrastructure Services. We do consultancy, civil engineering, and construction.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Rachel Nakalema. I work with S&L Advocates, what many people know as Sebalo and Lule Advocates. In the oil and gas industry, we support medium and small enterprises that deal in this industry with legal services. We also act for Total. They're our client. In terms of this event, I'm attending with Mario Nangom, who is the moderator for this event. And I also attended with some of our lawyers in training for them to learn about what happens in the oil and gas industry. We look forward to learning some more lessons as to how we can assist our clients with compliance issues because we interface with all those MDAs. So thank you for having us.
I'm Chiweru Michael, representing Daniel Surveyors and Contractors Limited. We do land surveying, general building and civil engineering works. I'm looking at deepening my understanding in the oil and gas sector.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Peter Sempewa. I work with Total Energies under the National Content Department. Glad to meet you all.
Good morning. My name is Mercy Kabanda. I work with Emirates Fire Engineering Services Limited.
Morning. My name is Waik Baziraki. I'm representing Martian Ventures, interested in software development, oil and gas sector.
Okay, thank you very much for the introductions. We would also like to acknowledge the people attending online, the SMEs attending online. Please put in the chat the name of your company and your names such that we are able to acknowledge you later on. But for now, in the interest of time, we shall proceed to our next agenda item, and that is remarks from the IEC program director. So a big hand clap as he joins us.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, online. Okay. Yeah. So welcome to the Industry Enhancement Center. You're going to hear a lot about it. I think in the interest of time, I can try and save what it is that we do here. But in a nutshell, we are here to ensure that Ugandan companies participate in the oil and gas sector. And for us, participation means that you win business. And how are we doing it? We are doing it in a number of ways, but probably through three ways, which I talk about, and the rest will share. One is through these kind of networking events, whereby you come and talk to each other about the industry. The other is you come and talk to the regulators, like today. Labor and gender. We have somebody from URA, got somebody from UNBRS, we've got somebody from UNBS, we've got NSSF. So we've got all the people who provide in the room. And if you have any problem with them, or you have a difficult question you've been wishing to ask, this is the time to ask them. Did you see them? Can I just request that you probably rise again and go see you? And don't miss the opportunity of engaging with these people. A round of applause for them. They've been here since 8 o'clock waiting for us.
That is one. The second thing which we do, and you'll hear a lot about it from the client, who is Total, who are the people responsible for the center, is we publicize, publish, and disseminate information around oil and gas. So if you are looking to participate, you are looking for when the tenders will come, you are looking for what standards are required, you are looking for how to improve your business, whether in contract management or bid management or JV management, this is the place to come to. And we've got a very big website, which is the iec.go.ug. And if you haven't gone to it, I encourage you to visit it, because regularly on a weekly basis, we have opportunities which the industry players, whether it's Total, CNOC, or the other contractors, share with us and say, we are looking for these services. Could you use your website to ensure that people get to know about it? So we publicize and disseminate information. The other big activity we do, and I think Kristen will take you through, is we do enterprise development. So capacity development. As I said, our purpose is to enhance your capacity and capability as an SME to participate in oil and gas. So we have designed a series of trainings, a series of capacity development programs with various partners to ensure that you are ready and that you have a bankable project, and that when your bid goes to the people who are making a decision, it has been enhanced and it is ready to win tenders. And that is how we'll measure our success, by the number of people who are winning tenders in Poland. And the third one, which we do, is a bit of what we're doing today. We provide coaching and consulting, provide access to networks, we provide access to regulators, provide access to finance. And again, if you've registered at the IEC, you'll see that we provide you with this email, which give you an update of what is going on. What program are we going to run next week? And if you haven't, I encourage you to try and do it. So I'd like to stop there, because I think it's a long day and we've already lost time. But once again, let me appreciate for you making time. I know it was a difficult morning with rain, but thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those remarks into the IEC. We would like to acknowledge the presence of the PAU, the regulator, as we continue with our event today. Most of the major IEC objectives have been mentioned, but kindly allow me to bring to your attention some activities we have where we would want to interest you as SMEs. So as the IEC, we support compliance for SMEs in the sector. Wanted to highlight some of the few things we do here so that you're able to take advantage of them. I'll pick maybe the most pertinent. These are supplier development workshops and networking events like this one today. We really, really urge you to register for our database so that if there is another opportunity on another key topic, you're able to receive the information firsthand and then be able to send a representative. So we have these events on a quarterly basis, and you would receive an email inviting you to some of these events once you're in the database. Most importantly, we also run national supplier database registration drives. The dates are communicated to you via the database. And also we offer capacity building and training, and don't forget to check our website. So we have an interruption in the, technique, but I wanted to specifically bring to your attention the call for applications for the bespoke training programs the IEC has to offer. This program has been designed for enterprises like yours to enroll and learn about a couple of things that are important to enhance your meaningful participation. So to beyond simply applying for bids and tenders, but then move to winning bids and tenders. The program has a number of short courses such as bid management, contract management, joint ventures and partnerships, access to finance, access to markets. It's really customized for you. And we urge you to visit our website and click on the link. There's a pop-up that comes when you click on the website, and you should be able to access the application form for this training program. And as I re-emphasize, the NSD drives are also happening here regularly. So for more information, that's a link to our website, the QR code. When you have a minute, you could scan. And in view of time, allow us to end there, but we shall remain available as the IEC during the break and also during the lunch hours. And after that, to listen and maybe address any questions that you may have. So back to the agenda. Allow me to invite here today the representative from TEPU, Total Energies, to give us some insight into the role of compliance in the oil and gas sector. Over to you, please.
Thank you very much, Christine. Good morning, everyone. I introduced myself earlier. I'll try again. My name is Peter Sempebwa. I work with Total Energies under the National Content Department. For those of you who are initiated, National Content is a department that is responsible for ensuring that Ugandans actively participate in all the activities within our operation area. How do they participate? It's through employment, through business, providing goods and services by SMEs such as yours. And indeed, I'm happy to hear that some of us in the audience are already doing that. We don't stop at that. We recognize that sometimes we all need a hand to boost us or to build our capacity so that we are able to do more or to do what we initially couldn't be able to do. So we also do capacity building as part of our mandate, and this is exactly what we do under this center, build the capacity of SMEs. My role or the role today for me is very simple. Talk about the role of compliance in the sector. I'll start with what compliance is not in the sector, and then we go to the role. Compliance is not a tool to lock you out of participating in the sector. Number one, very, very important for you to understand that compliance does not exist to prevent you from participating in the sector. And indeed, this is feedback we receive all the time. Those Total people, those CNOC people, just put these compliance things in place so that they only get a select few people. To the contrary, I think as we go through the presentation or my talking points, you realize that it's the only avenue or the best avenue for you to participate, whether it's in the oil and gas sector and indeed other sectors that are not oil and gas. And those sectors do exist and have existed long before oil and gas was in the country. A few examples. In 2022 alone, I think the sector or the industry, the oil and gas sector had to pay over $9 billion in fines across the globe, in fines due to non-compliances, some directly by themselves as IOCs, e.g. Shell, Total, but others by their contractors they engage in their supply chains. Where were the fines coming from? Environmental disasters that happen. For example, spills, contamination of water bodies, etc., etc. Safety failures, where people got killed on the operations. Negligence of their legal duties or obligations, where it was found that one person had a kickback and things like that. What happens when such things happen? Of course, we've talked about $9 billion. Sounds a bit small because it's just 9, right? But if you put it in Uganda terms, it's quite a hefty sum of money. But it's not just the money, it's the reputation. A lot of us take a lifetime to build our reputations, but it takes only a fraction to ruin that reputation. So it's always important that while when we say compliance, this compliance, that to understand that it's not a nice to have. It's imperative. It's important that it exists. Otherwise, we lose money. We suffer reputational damage. A few examples, of course, based on the numbers I've just mentioned. You've heard of the BP Deepwater Horizon disaster that led to about $65 billion of loss. That company is still struggling to this day, and it has been in existence for quite a bit. But when a disaster like that happens, 65 billion could wipe your balance sheet and get you into struggle. Back home, of course, we've had issues where we've lost lives. Not so long ago, I think you must have read in the news where a truck rolled, a truck that was carrying, I think it was petrol, rolled within a business district or a business center, and lots of people lost their lives and property. And if you drill down to the cause of that incident, you'll find that somewhere along the way, there were a few non-compliance issues that gave rise to that. So I have spent 2 to 3 minutes giving you a few examples just to ensure that the notion that when we say compliance in the oil and gas sector, we're simply saying local SMEs don't come close is a fallacy. It's wrong. It's simply to say that we care about you, the people that you engage, the environment within which we operate. We respect the government that hosts us to do work here, and therefore will comply with all the rules, the regulations, the laws that exist. What is compliance in the Uganda oil and gas sector? Maybe we start there. And why is it important? So compliance for us ranges from really adhering to the laws. I have my regulator here, I just walked in. And your homework, I don't have all the regulations listed, but your homework is to go and read up on all the regulations we have in the sector, just the oil and gas. But also as you do that, we have NEMA in the building, I believe. We also have regulations around how we should do work. As you read on those, we will have also a few other areas such as anti-corruption and ethical business practices, etc., etc. So there are a number of laws, regulations, guidelines that have been put in place for us to use in the day-to-day running of the operations in the sector. What is important for you to, first of all, is to know them. And I'm glad that the center has created time and brought people in the room for them to create that awareness around those laws. Again, keyword is they are non-negotiable. We can't negotiate them. When I'm dealing with my regulator, I will put out all compelling reasons why some things are difficult. And he will say, I hear you, I empathize with you, but laws are non-negotiable. So compliance is mandatory. So I've covered a few areas where we look at compliance. Why is compliance non-negotiable? For all of us in here and the people you intend to work with, it gives us operational legitimacy and reduces legal risk. We have lawyers in the house. They will tell you that if something went wrong and they came and checked, did their investigations, and there were a few non-compliances around regulation, we become culpable. All of us, not just us, yourselves as well. So it's our way of doing legitimate business, but also staying on the right side of the law as businesses. We talked about reputation. It's important. Your reputation is very, very important, and you must guard it. Not just the name, but the business. The business's reputation has to be guarded jealously. And that's the only way we get to trust you as a business partner. However, if you, for some reason, you choose not to comply, cut corners here and there, it does not give your partner the confidence. And partner here, I'm not just talking about Total Energies. In this room, I would like to think that at the end of the day, you'll find a way of doing business with each other. You can't do business with a person you don't trust. What creates trust is for the other party to understand that you do understand what your obligations are and you're willing to follow them to the letter with no excuses. The other area is access to finance. I don't know if we have banks in here, but typically when you go to a bank, the first thing they ask you for to find line of credit, a few first things they ask you for: do you have audited books of accounts? Do you pay your taxes? Do you A, B, C, D, and E? Again, you as business people, I imagine you know better than me what those banks ask for. But all that stems from compliance. That at the end of the year, I filed my returns with URA, I've paid all my tax dues, my books are audited, and here they are. Give me money so I can do more business. Again, non-negotiable. Beyond that, we talk about, for us, it's mandatory. I mean, as a business, it's mandatory that as we evaluate your bids, the things you must have are already there. I'll tell you one thing. I think Christine either mentioned it before or not yet. Your gateway to oil and gas is registration on the NSD. Again, non-negotiable. Maybe at this point I pause and say, how many in this room are registered on the National Supplier Database? Straighter hands will give me a fair view of, okay. About half of you qualify to do business in the oil and gas. And the rest of you, I am not so sure. You have to get on the NSD first. So as an example, that one act of complying with NSD registration is your first gateway to even considering getting an opportunity in the sector. And if you're seated in this room and you're not on the NSD, but your dream is to do some work in the sector, that non-compliance is what you first check for, or you should first check for. So again, non-negotiable. You can have the best bid, you can be the best man for the job, but if you're not on the NSD, then it becomes difficult. Some of the requirements we talk about, I've already mentioned, under compliance, business registration, and licensing. I imagine you're all URSP registered, you have the right licenses. But if you don't, URSP is in the house and they will tell you what exactly you need to do to get your company registered. There are sector-specific permits. If you're an engineer in this house or you're an engineering house, Are there very specific licenses, permits that relate that you must comply with? And if the answer is yes, then you must. If you're a legal firm, must you subscribe with a law society? I don't know, but you know better. You run these businesses. It's important for you to understand whatever sector you're in, you understand what regulatory requirements you are obligated to have and have them in hand. We've talked about NEMA, we talked about PAU requirements, we talked about URSP. That's compliance. I know. We can get into that pain and all, not my place, but you must be compliant. James here will tell you that for you to get on the NSD registration, you must go to URA for them to give you tax clearance. And you see the loop. Or go to NSSF, again for clearance. So the loop must be complete. There are no two ways about it. And so we say that, say, pay your taxes. Are you VAT registered? Maybe. Do you have employees? Pay your payee. Do you earn an income on your business? Pay your income tax. Clear them, and so that's one of the other areas of compliance. Health, safety, and environment. How many of you in here have an HSE management system in-house? By show of hands. Health, safety, and environment management system. Come on, straight. Yes, yes, yes. And you see, when you put up your hand, now we know how to support. So there is a lady from Glauben who supports people to put together HSE management systems. She's a person you see during the break. Again, remember where we started to say, there are things that we don't negotiate as an industry, health and safety, environment, one of them. And you can't practice those if you don't have a management system in place. We've talked about NSD registration. We talked about nature of business, whether you're a partnership or you just have a business name, etc. And the list goes on and on and on. What's your duty? Very simple. Understand what the various requirements are, create a register for them, create one by one. Considering we've decided that they are non-negotiables. If you want to do business in the sector, if you don't want to, then maybe we are not talking to you today. But if you want to, they are non-negotiable. I say that firmly, but we also recognize that there are challenges to getting some of these things done to the letter. There will be times where, as a business, you face a challenge in getting these done. Our commitment to you, Christina said, as a center, is to support you to get this through capacity building. We'll create awareness around them. We'll facilitate these teams to come here and support you where you need the support. And we'll create these linkages or collaborations so that you are supported in a certain way. If it's trainings, the trainings will be done. If it's to point you in the right direction, that will happen. And that's to say that in that journey, if you choose to go that journey of compliance, full compliance, the center is here to support you. The various MDAs that are here, government agencies are here to support you. I think the PAU alone runs drives, even at the center here. If you need to get on the NSD registration, this is your place. If you need to put an HSE management system in place, there will be experts here to walk you through that process until you get it done. And that's, I think, our commitment to all of you who are in this room and need to put that in place. The bigger picture. which we painted through the journey, or sorry, through our conversation. I think it's more attractive to do business with people who are compliant. I'll tell you why. One of the pains we have as a project is when, for example, URA says, there's a term they use to say, this guy has money on the account but has been defaulting. Therefore, freeze the account, hold the money there, whatever money is there. What that means is that if I've given you money to do a project and your account is frozen, you won't have the finances to do my work. Therefore, it becomes my pain. Or an honest Ugandan who has woken up to do your work comes Monday to Friday for a month, qualifies to be paid their earnings at the end of the month, and you don't pay them. Or you pay them 3 months later. And when you pay them, they are entitled to NSSF, but you say, I'll take your 5% and I'll contribute 10%, but that 10% and the 5% is not reflected as remittance to NSSF. So the guy goes and says, at the end of the year, says they've been deducting money from my paycheck in the name of remitting it to NSSF, but there is no money there. We are dealing with those cases. They are not figments of our imagination. And the dear regulator receives all these complaints and says, you Total, go and fix the contractor. So we have now to come to the contractor and say, pay the person's dues. Again, goes back to the attractiveness. The other part is, we talk about sustainability in doing business. If you're going to sustain business over a long period of time, there's no way you run away from compliance. And it's not just in the oil and gas sector. And I believe in this room, we have very serious people who have chosen to build businesses that will outlast a year, 2, 3, 20 or so years. We didn't hear that part of how long you guys have been in business. But if you're in it for the long term, whether it's the oil and gas or working with government, I think compliance becomes the only way to do work. The alternative is you crash and burn. If you don't, I imagine if you've been, let's say, skipping paying your fair share of tax, someday URA will come to you and say, for the time you've been operating, you've not paid us a number of billions of shillings. And when that happens, you will need to pay up. So you'll weigh the option of paying up those bills or closing shop. The people I've interacted with most likely choose closing shop. So that's not a way you run a business. And that's an indication, an indicator of short to versus long term. If you're going to do this long term, compliance again becomes critical. Contribution to Uganda's economic growth. National content, I think when we talk about national content, ours is to say that the project must contribute to the economic growth of Uganda through various ways. Of course, we will sell oil at a certain point, but for now, we need to engage you in meaningful business. And through those engagements, we retain the critical foreign currency here. We get people gainfully employed and etc. If we have to build a country, and we must, it's again a non-negotiable unless we have a second country. Some of us don't, this is it. We must build it, and it can only come through compliance. I don't know, Christine didn't tell me how much I have to speak for, and I've been speaking for a while. I now need to conclude. Jimmy says my time is up, or rather His Excellency. Call to action. You should prioritize compliance, considering it's a non-negotiable. and also considering that it's a strategic investment. And you should understand, because I've been very deliberate to use the word non-negotiable, because if you choose to do that part of yours, you can't go to the regulator and say opportunities are not being given to the Ugandans, because there is no way we give you that opportunity when you're not compliant. That's call number one. You prioritize compliance as a strategic investment. Number two, seek mentorship from the IEC, where we are here. I think Christine didn't mention the services here are sponsored, at least most of them, or all of them, except where you need to do some work in your own premises. But when you walk in here, a very simple thing, building an HSC MS or an HSC management system. The center is available to support you, so use it. But also use your other industry association avenues. I know bankers have a training institution. I think insurance does the same. The legal fraternity, not so sure. URA has trainings on some of these things. Please use them. The PAU has quite a number of programs where they've trained. So seek these mentorship programs, seek these training programs. And once you're ready, and Christine here will tell you the program that comes is going to say, I've assessed this person, they have XYZ gaps. They are not ready to participate in the oil and gas sector, let alone any other sector that is serious. Number two, they will say, could be ready if they do 1, 2, 3 things. Number three, she will say, they are ready now. And ready now, then we'll start to fight with you to find the opportunities. If you're in the other two categories, you have to figure out what areas of non-compliance and other capacity gaps you have so that they can be closed. I thank you very much for listening to me. I hope I've made a bit of sense. And when you leave this room and you engage these good people, don't talk about IFRIS. Okay, you can talk about whatever you want. I won't protect her. But also seek to understand how you can be supported to toe the line of compliance. Thank you very much for listening to me. Back to you, Christine.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Peter, for a wonderful insight to the SMEs. We also want to wave at you, those our participants online, and keep you engaged. We are waving at Envirosa, Housing Finance, Alderia, Moluga, Busy Products, LMS, EHS, and you're also finding the sessions interesting. Now, before we move to our panel discussion, to have one more presentation from the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, but as it's being set up, technically also allow us to set up the panel chairs here so that we manage time more efficiently. Thank you very much. Let's have the presentation from the authority.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. When I heard Peter speaking, I've decided to drop the idea of the presentation because it covers practically everything he has said. So I'll just add a few words what he has been mentioning here. One is that by way of introduction, I'm called James Bushere Rujochi, and I've been and I'm with the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, and the Senior National Content Officer in charge of contract. I bring greetings from the Executive Director, who was following up on the networking. If he's online, I won't be surprised because he really is interested in SMEs and how they grow. The role of Petroleum Authority of Uganda, for emphasis purposes, is a regulator. Now we have 3 institutions under government that handle oil and gas. However, some people may not clearly understand the role of each of those institutions. I'm sure some of you have heard of UNOC,
of Ministry of Energy, Directorate of Petroleum, and it gets confusing. You find people asking you the UNOC part, the authority part, the ministry part. And I hope during the trainings of the IEC, these are some of the things that come out so that you clearly know where to go when you're looking for something. Now, it would be amazing if I find anyone here who can clearly explain for us the three different roles. Anyone? I think the IEC needs to pull up its socks. These are some things that should really be coming off your fingerprints. But in short, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda came in place in about 7 years ago. Originally, all the work was being done by the Ministry of Energy, exploration, regulation, commercial aspects. And in 2008, there was a policy that was put in place that recommended that the best international practice for oil and gas sector across the world needed you to separate regulating roles like UCC from the commercial roles. Like UNOC, you put UNOC, so it's an equivalent of UTL. So all the stakes of government, whether in the pipeline, whether in the refinery, when the crude is removed, the commercial aspects are run by UNOC, and it has almost 15% in every license of Total, of CNOC, of whichever, and it also has its own license. Then the ministry stayed with the function of policy formulation and setting up the laws. So the authority which I represent is like the one that makes sure that you're following in accordance with the law. There are two laws that you need to understand as you're into oil and gas. That should be your Bible. I said I dropped this, but this is what the policy I was talking about. And there are also two laws that you need to understand. One is the Petroleum Exploration, Development and Production Act, and it has attendant regulation. And there is also the Petroleum Conversion Midstream Storage Act. It has attendant regulation. Everything concerning oil and gas is within these laws, including procurement. Under the general regulations, there are requirements of what procurement method you'll use, how it will be assessed, how you choose company. Now, I can tell you that we receive complaints of people saying, oh, Total or CNOC have done this and this, we're going to report PPDA. The procurement of oil and gas is not anywhere linked to PPDA. So now when you receive such a letter, you know that now this one has not really understood how things work. So for you, if you're interested in procurement, please understand that these are the laws. And especially for you, your Bible should be national content, because government saw it prudent that in all places, oil has been a curse. There has been an element of Ugandans not participating from the start. Nigeria has produced oil for over, I think, 100 years, I think almost 100 years, but they set up a national content law of recent. I think about 20 years or 10 years. But from the time that law was put in place, the success and things of turning around the economy of Nigeria have been magnificent. Now, therefore, for you, you need to understand there are special laws that were put in place to ensure that encourage Ugandans to participate. And under those laws, there are quite aspects that you need to understand that are also obliged, that are also onto you that you're supposed to follow. For example, on the licensee part, Total and contractors, the tier 1 contractors, there are things that say we have ring-fenced services, that those ones you will do for Ugandans only. Here. So Total, CNOC, the rest, these services are supposed to be specifically for Ugandan companies. Now, I will discuss the compliance and also discuss the challenges that we face with this, so that you understand what, because They told us to discuss compliance and challenges. Now, when the government set up these 16 ring-fence services, it said priority for every procurement should be to a Ugandan. But where there are no Ugandans, the second priority should be a joint venture. But where the joint venture is not possible, an international company can outdo specific provisions. But above all those, these 16 services are non-negotiable that Ugandan company. Telecom, civil works, waste management, human resource, all those. What is happening now? There are some very brilliant people who say, oh, the government has put in place this. How do we go around it? I am called Zang. I have set up a shop here. I realize my shop or my company is doing construction, but in oil and gas, it is ring-fenced for Ugandans. What do? I have a driver or I have my friend. I say, please, let's set up a company. We set it up 100%. I bid, I get the job. On the face of it, it is Ugandan. But if you find out who signs for the money in the bank account, it is me who is Zang. Now, that means, as we are saying, oh, Ugandans are improving, but who is doing the work? Someone else. And who is helping them? You, in this room. So those are the challenges. Now, when we went to assess, we realized that this compliance is now being circumvented, and we have to find a way of finding out how Zang is the one, because we have gained a contract to Uganda. How come we are seeing this man's life is not changing? You don't even see. You ask him how many contracts he has. You ask him, what are you doing in oil and gas? He has no idea what's going on. So that's one of them. Two, it says you should have joint ventures, but those joint ventures should be approved by the authority. What are the compliance challenges? We find that a joint venture, one, submits without approval. He reaches contract award stage, and you know these contracts are $50 million. Then they told him you don't have a what? An approval. He has already seen his life changing. When you come for the approval, we tell you that under the law, the approval is under 3 categories. One, you must have been in line of business of that. Two, you must have the technical expertise to contribute meaningfully to the joint venture. And you must have some, at least show that you will get capital to perform the contract. So where does he get the challenge? He's a catering firm. He says, I'm going for a joint venture to do drilling work. It is $50 million. For me, all I need is a what? A cut. Eventually, when he comes and they tell him, go and get the approval, we realize the man is Mamanachi, who cooks down there, is not going to contribute meaningfully to the joint venture. He has a contract already for award. I tell you have a contract of $50 million. Don't you see life changing? Then if you come and the Petroleum Authority of Uganda refuses a joint venture, don't you take it personal? So it's important that you understand first that a joint venture should be your line of business. If you're logistics, you're matching with logistics because both of you are going to perform work. If you're training, you're into training. But the mismatch is where it happens. And you need to understand these aspects before. So we have seen sad stories of someone reaching the end, or even if he's genuinely in a joint venture, you find that he's getting a challenge of the approval. Two, did you know that it is a requirement that in your bids, you provide a national content plan or proposal? Did you know that that national content proposal is awarded 10%? Did you know that the law requires that where those proposals are close to each other in price, within 5%, The one who has a better national content proposal is supposed to be awarded the contract. So some people go and say, what's the proposal? I don't need to submit it. But it's being evaluated along the 5 pillars. How much value are you? How much are you spending? Are you employing of Ugandans? How much capacity building will you do for your staff? How much are you using in local goods and services as subcontracting? How much enterprise development are you performing during the contract? What knowledge transfer is there? You just say, what's this? Let me submit. When it comes, you're the lowest, but you have performed poorly here. Someone is within 5% is higher than you, and he's awarded the contract. Those are requirements that you need to know. Payment. The law says, please pay some payment early enough or in advance operate. But the biggest challenge we are seeing is people not paid. We have over 2,000 companies on the database, and 1,600 are Ugandans. But do you know the defaulters? Over all the, I think in unpaid payments, now we have, I think over, maybe about $20 million. But did you know that all the defaulters, 95% are Ugandan companies? You get someone, you don't pay them. You get the services, you don't pay them. And when we are to see, people go and build hotels, houses, new car, and forget to pay, you have an obligation to pay. So those are compliance aspects that I thought I should emphasize. Work permits. You get a job, you're sure it requires some specialized skills, and you don't have them. You need to bring an expatriate. The law says, please get a work with a recommendation from the Petroleum Authority. You go and get an expatriate and deploy him. Then they stop your work. Then you challenges, please follow. So the authority has put in place a depository on the website of all the requirements under the law and guidelines. As you go into the oil and gas business, please read and understand them. The authority also, the law says there should be quarterly development workshops. All companies, especially the major international companies, hold quarterly, and licensees, quarterly workshops to teach you and tell you about these things every day. Yesterday we were from COSIL. I see some faces here who were there yesterday. So you know the requirements of procurement and the standards. So as I conclude, I go to standards. Standards of oil and gas are high. The unfortunate thing is that they will not come down for you, but you have to come up for them. Because I see, but this is too stringent. No. They cannot come down. The reasons are simple. One, most of these companies are on the stock exchange. We have over 20 companies now in where their net worth is in billions of dollars and are listed on the US stock exchange. If Total has an employee who dies on the site, it will be international news. You can see people already demonstrating here. What does that affect? Their stock will go down, stock prices. There is no way they are going to leave room for that to happen. Two, the machines that we use are expensive. The rig hire alone per day is about $150,000 to $300,000 per day. So you're spending about $1 billion per day on running a machine and a site. You cannot afford standards that are low. I'll give you a simple example. And I faced this challenge in 2014. I had just joined the Ministry of Energy, and they gave me a case to handle in Hoima. This person was complaining about being a supplier of meat, and they had terminated his contract. His contract, when they were starting, it was a bit, they would tell him to bring, I think, at that time he would slaughter like 3 cows every day. And they helped him set up an abattoir, tried to help him maintain and what. the production went up when numbers were increasing. They went to 5, I think they went to 10. So he started struggling to meet the demand. In that, he started putting, they give you the way they want their meat cut. Started putting intestine in the packaging. So they get him the first time. Tell him, you man, we've warned you, please go back to the standards. His production now continues. They give him the order has increased. You know his comments were? Your order is going up. You're complaining that cut these guys over it like beads worth the wife. He kept putting until they terminated the contract. He ran to the ministry, and that time they brought his case. So I went to the field to try and find out what actually happened. All of these were warnings there. Please, we want this kind of meat cut in this way, in this standard, frozen like this, delivered at these degrees, and handed over to us. Because we have people on the rig who, if they get food poisoning, the rig stops. We are losing $1 billion. We are paying them high salaries, so we cannot afford. So please understand that the standards will not come down for you. Now, when government realized that these standards are a challenge, we have decided as one of the initiatives to set up capacity development programs. One of them is IEC. The study was done. We realized we needed a center to train Ugandan companies to be able to understand the industry and be able to understand the requirements. Now, this IEC is not by mistake. We agreed with Total and other joint venture partners. They have put it in place. The dream is to have this center certify companies so that you're ISO certified, have standards, know the operations, and you join the industry. Don't be left out. So far, over $6 billion has been spent in contracts. About that, almost less than $2 billion has gone to Ugandan companies. These are less than, I think, 300 or 200 companies. But as the last time I checked, URSB had over 850,000 companies. That was in 2021. Now, that's less than 0.02% of the companies participating in the sector. The 80%, the 70%, 60% is still going to foreign companies. But the magic is standardization and knowing the laws and compliance aspects. With those few words, I beg to wish you good deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Msherule. A big hand clap again. Okay, thank you for staying attentive and for committing to enhance compliance within your respective organizations. At this stage, allow me to hand over to our next moderator for the panel session, and she will take over the introductions of the panelists and herself. Over to you.
Morning, everyone. My name is Marion Amom. I am a lawyer by profession. I'm a senior associate at Civil Law and the Lay Advocates. I have a background in commercial law, projects and infrastructure. And today I'm delighted to be your panel moderator for the day. My panel comprises distinguished individuals from the various ministries that regulate you. So I'd like to start by asking them, first of all, just move and take their seats, please. And then we shall introduce ourselves. So as they sit, we have representatives from UNBS, we have NEMA, we have NSSF, we have Ministry of Gender and Labor. And they're basically going to talk about, we know that you face a lot of challenges in trying to be compliant, and Total and PAU have spoken about it and laid a very good plan. So our discussion is really just going to demystify what they require as regulators in their own spaces. And then we shall also speak about the capacity building initiatives that they have from a regulatory perspective. So I'm going to start from John, and I'm going to ask him in 1 minute, just tell us your name, what you do, and one fun fact about yourself that no one in this room knows.
Morning. My name is John Sharplet. I work at UNBS as a senior standards officer. My basically I develop standards, much more for the oil and gas sector. Thank you very much.
Fun fact? Yeah. Fun fact? Yeah.
Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Junior. I work as a senior government inspector for oil and gas with the National Land Management Authority. Head office, mainly handle science inspections and monitoring of oil and gas projects and related approvals.
Fun fact. Yeah, fun fact.
Morning.
Morning.
I'm a supervisor, but now acting manager, mining and petroleum. We established a division to help members in the oil and gas and mining to just have an office like a stop center to ensure that their compliance is handled.
Fun fact.
I'm a mother and a wife. Okay, birthdays for my kids and the spouse. I've always promised them that whenever it's their birthday, as a gift from me to them, I always massage their head.
Oh, that's sweet.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
I'm Joseph Niga. I work with the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development, the Department of Educational Sector and Health. I'm an educational inspector, but I'm also in charge of education of workplace.
And what's your fun fact?
Specialist. I've been a teacher. I cannot be surprised that in here there's somebody I taught. Because I was very good at teaching chemistry and biology. So don't be surprised when you're moving with your kids and they call me teacher. So I have that other part. But I'm also a person. I have wonderful kids. My daughter, my first daughter is finishing 5th year in medical school.
Oh, nice. I think in the interest of fairness, Paul, you can still tell us what your fun fact is. Like your fun fact, something funny about you that no one in this room knows.
Okay. I'm a family man. I love that. I'm Mr. Longo.
See?
And I'm playing this.
Okay. Thank you. And my fun fact is I love fashion. And if I wasn't a lawyer, I would be around, I'll be on the runway somewhere. So now that we have someone else from NSSF, and they're going to join us in the middle of the presentation, but now we'd just like to dive into the topic for the day. So I'm going to start with you, Joseph. I had a stint at Total. in 2023, the downstream company. And on my first day, first of all, as a driver, I don't like reverse parking. So I stressed that the first requirement was that you're supposed to reverse park. And the way that Total offices are set up is that it's a storied building overlooking the parking lot. So anyone can casually turn from their desk and see you struggling to reverse park. And their slots are diagonal. They are not the normal parking slots we know. And then I think that was my first day, that was my first challenge. And then the second day was, so if you go to Total downstream, the pathways are demarcated like in yellow. That's where you're supposed to walk. So me, I thought, okay, these guys they're quite pedantic. So me, I was walking on the side, very happy. And then someone walked up to me and said, I'm giving you a stop card. They have this stop card mechanism. And he said, you did not follow the demarcated lines when you were walking into office this morning. If you continue, if you do this for 3 occasions, then you're going to be flagged in the system. So that all happened within 1 week of me being a lawyer in Total. And it was like a baptism by fire that these people don't play about safety. And remember their head of health and safety telling me, safety is the difference between you walking in here alive and living in a coffin. So you must actually ensure that there's no negotiation when it comes to safety, just as Paul and Tepu told us earlier. So this question goes to you, Joseph, in terms of health and safety. I know that when we are talking about safety in the upstream sense, we're now looking at different things. In downstream, it was you have to make sure that you're not you're not smoking on the premises because there's a huge fuel tank behind you. But I would assume that now in the upstream sense, you have a lot more considerations because you're drilling, you have people maybe working at height. So just tell us what the key requirements are, especially for the players in the oil and gas sector. What are the key things that they need to do to ensure that they comply with the safety requirements under the law?
What's the Lord? A lot of requirements. The oil and gas sector. Unfortunately, I'm just going to summarize when we found for you. From our side, as the Ministry, Gender, Labour and Social Development, we expect that all workplaces are registered with us. All workplaces are registered with us, with the Ministry. That is a requirement. The idea is that when you register, we know who you are, where you are, so that we can offer the technical service that is required in as far as safety and health is concerned. The second one is that we expect that to have documented safety and health management system in place. And I will emphasize the word documented because many times we walk into SMEs and asking the same thing we have. And because from the look of things, you see they are donning reflective jackets and whatever. But when you ask for the documented aspects, we don't have. So we emphasize the documented part. Otherwise, whatever we would see would be copy and paste from another maybe industry. Another one, which is also very key, is a documented risk assessment and management plans. From the introduction, I realized there's few of us who have got a dose on safety, big dose on safety and health. Right? One of the key things in safety and health is the risk assessment. Whatever you do, you must do a risk assessment and you document it. And that risk assessment will again inform you of the mitigation measures that you put in place. Because risk assessment means you have identified the hazards, okay? And then we put in place mitigation measures or controls that enable you to lower the risks. So we expect a documented risk assessment. Documented because many times we do risks. I was very observant when one making tea here. Okay? When tea was powered from that big flask, they go our cup, we moved, and then we sat down and waited a bit. Some of you kept on stirring, okay? So that the tea cools down. Okay? Now put the cup on his one mouth immediately. That was good risk assessment. But you didn't document it. That is the basics of the risk assessment. But in oil and gas sector, we expect that whatever you do, you must have a documented risk assessment. Then it will inform you the signage, the PPE that the training needs. Okay? It will inform you of everything that you need put in place to avert the risks that are associated with the industry. As you are aware, it is safe and health to the heart of the oil industry. Okay? Without it, we collapse. Another one that is we expect is that in many cases we have many times we have what we call statutory equipment, lifting equipment, the cranes, the hoists, especially if you are doing some big construction. Okay? Or if you are lifting heavy roads, those of you who are doing logistics, you have a lot of machinery which you consider statutory. So the law requires that they are supposed to be examined and certified by authorized personnel. I know many of you have got your own service providers, and but that is not enough. The law requires that the authorized person from the Department of Education, Safety and Health should also be. We don't deter you from using your service provider, but make sure that our person also looks at it and satisfied. Okay? Otherwise, you face insurance problems and whatever when you have a problem. Okay? They ask you, was it certified by an authorized person? And then you say it was certified by a competent person. There is a difference between the competent and authorized. If you have both, that is the plan. Okay? But authorization is also very important. The other one is architectural drawings. If you are in construction, if you are doing construction, I have some of you are doing construction, modeling some of the facilities. The architectural drawing of any workplace by law are supposed to be looked at, submitted to the Commission on Special Safety and looked at before they are maybe certified by other bodies. We have officers, engineers, and architecture who look at the architectural drawings and then tease out those occupational safety and health issues, which your planner may not have seen. The idea so that see, was ventilation enough, was storm water located before, what about lighting? What about the emergency doors? Are they enough? What about the training facilities? Stances, are they enough? Before you start constructing, so that we avoid breaking walls. Unfortunately, very few of our SMEs are adhering to this. But it is within our laws that architectural drawing should be broad and looked at. So that if they are well located for, no problem. Certify and give a guide. We are working with the local governments KCCA and others, Wakiso, and there's positive development in that area.
It's all right. We'll come back. We'll come back to you.
Growing. The other one is emergency preparedness. This one is implied when you do a risk assessment. The risk assessment will inform you of the kind of emergency that you should expect. And then the mitigation measures. But for emphasis, want to look at that plan. Emergency preparedness, how we are prepared for emergency. Many of you prepare for only fire. Fire is not the only emergency in the workplace. With that, collapsing of structures, traffic accidents, intruder, people come within, assuming somebody came in here with a car. That is an emergency. How do we deal with that emergency? We need to see all this. When I came in here, I saw some emergency preparedness. Okay? I even saw the case of any problem where we are saying there were now direction. Where to go, exit, what. Now, this is what we expect in a plan. So that you use this one to train, good trains, okay? And to put in place whatever you need, not only fire. We have noted that people always think fire is the only emergency. Yes, it's true. In oil and gas, fire is our worst enemy. Okay? But there are also other emergencies. There are other standards, but as the interest of time, I can speak about that. The rest we can discuss.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd like to recognize the presence of our representative from NSSF, Mr. Simon Sinkungu. Simon, if you could just stand up. You're welcome. So we'll come back to you in a bit. Poland has talked about the environment. Currently, climate change is on everybody's. It's what everyone is talking about. It has ceased to be an emerging risk and it has now emerged. But I want to talk about what NEMA expects from an environmental perspective for everyone who is dealing in the oil and gas space, simply because of the increased risk to the environment from the pollution, the loss in biodiversity, and all the concerns and the campaigns that we've had, especially around some of our projects like ECOP. So if you could just kindly tell us what the standards are from an environmental perspective for the people in the room.
We need to do an inspection of the scaffolding. Yeah, we need that checklist. Do an inspection.
That's all right.
So
you want me to give or you want me?
Okay, where are the forms?
You does an empty form.
What? For scaffolding checklist.
Oh, you want checklist?
Yes, checklist.
Okay, let me be coming.
Monitoring, supervising, and coordinating all activities related to environment. So under the various environmental standards are contained within the environmental laws. And we have the National Environment Act, CAP 181, which is the overarching legislation and has all other regulations under it for environmental management. For the SMEs involved in the oil and gas sector, I know there are some who are participating in supplies, waste management aspects. There are specific provisions in the environmental laws and expect you to comply with all the standards contained therein. I'll give a few examples. For those who have projects with potential
significant environmental and social impacts, you are required to undertake environmental and social impact assessments and follow appropriate mitigation measures to your projects. That is a requirement under the National Environment Act, CAP 181, CAP 181. It was formerly called the National Environment Act number 5 of 2019. And also under the National Environmental and Social Impact Assessment Regulations of 2020. For those involved also in the waste sector, you know very well that you have aspects related to waste management. We need proper management of waste. There are two laws mainly for waste management. We have the National Environment Waste Management Regulations of 2020 and the one specific to petroleum waste is the Petroleum Waste Management Regulations of 2019. You know that all petroleum waste is supposed to be handled by a licensed waste handler. So NEMA also helps in the licensing bit of the waste handlers. We also have, once you have the approvals from NEMA on environmental and social impact assessments, you're supposed to do annual audits. And that is in accordance with the National Environment Audit Regulations 2020. That is also on compliance aspects. If you don't do audits, there are fines to that. There come aspects of fines there. Yes. We also have issues related to pollution. You're supposed to have measures in place to prevent pollution from your activities. It's also with the Act. Now, that is under the National Environment Act, CAP 181, or the National Environment Act number 5 of 2019. We also have the petroleum laws, upstream and the midstream laws, specific to the petroleum sector, and the attendant regulations related to health, safety, and environment. The other standards are in the National Environment, the National Environment Air Quality Standards and Regulations of 2024. It prescribes standards related to emission limits from your facilities to air pollution and also minimize exposure of the people to the air pollutants. There are very many. I think those are some of the examples. We also have the the National Environment Noise Standards and Control Regulations of 2003, which is being revised. It prescribes the limits for noise exposure from operations in the oil and gas sector and others. Those who are traversing wetland systems, those who are working in sensitive ecosystems, like for wetland crossings, we have the wetland regulations of 2000, which are also under revision. They are required to obtain the necessary permits, especially for oil and gas activities. We have issued several permits to them, so you're supposed to comply with all the conditions and terms in those permits. Yes.
All right.
Anything else?
No, thank you, thank you. So he's mentioned a lot of laws, and in case anyone is feeling overwhelmed, I would ask you not to despair. We have a one-on-one session, so if you're dealing in a space that actively you feel is impacted by what is mentioned, please feel free to reach out to him and get further clarification on what you require for your business. But in summary, he's saying you need to get an environmental impact assessment before you commence your activities. And that is usually required when you're dealing in activities that are likely to have a significant impact on the environment. The consequence of having that assessment done is that you must have an annual environmental audit that has to be completed to ensure that you're actually complying with the terms of your statement. And then you must also ensure that, first of all, you're not polluting, because we try to ensure that we protect the environment under the National Environment Act. And there's also the polluter pays principle. So if you are the one who is found polluting the environment, whether in terms of discharge of effluent into water, into air, as he has talked about, you'll be responsible for cleaning up the environment. So I would strongly encourage all of you to speak to him further. So I'm coming to you, Margaret. This week's Daily Monitor had a very interesting headline. It said government is proposing a 3-year tax exemption for SMEs that are below. Basically, if you're 0 to 3 years and you're an SME, government wants to give you a tax exemption in the 2025 income tax amendments. And that's very good news, I believe, for people in this room. I know that for startups, the first 3 years are very, very difficult. There are a lot of compliance costs. You're basically trying to fly the plane and build it at the same time. So Margaret, talk to us about the tax treatment of SMEs in the oil and gas sector, specifically if one of the people in this room is a subcontractor. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Maybe just to get some clarification from the team. By show of hands, do we have presumptive taxpayers who are earning below 150 million annual? Like show of hands. Presumptive, like if you and we are saying gross income, meaning that if you have a shop and you are making sales with before taking off the expenses, do we have in this room taxpayer or businesses whose gross turnover is below 150 million a year? So you can. So from that answer, it means that members, you don't belong to small. From just, and it's very good to be honest, because I mean the Bible says that when you profess something, that I'm poor, but you guys, you are honest, and that is very good. So for presumptive taxpayers, taxpayers who are supposed to have just some rates. Yeah, there's a way we go slow on them. Those are only taxpayers who are earning gross income. Gross income means sales without expenses of just 150 million and below. But now in this room, and the reason why I asked that question is just that I want to address members in an advanced way, because from the way, definitely the answer is you are not small, you are big. All right, so
so the question was, what's the tax treatment? So just take us through the primary tax obligations they must comply with.
All right, so from the submission, I believe all members here are registered for taxes. Yeah. Do we have anyone who's not registered for taxes? You think? Okay. I believe all members are registered for taxes because our core mandate, yeah, we have so many. Our core mandate is to collect and administer taxes. So we believe that each member before you start business, and the gentleman from Tepio, yes, the gentleman from Tepio actually says you get a license to get actually license. Any business even registration at the Uganda Registration Bureau, you need a team. So you must register for taxes, and I believe everyone here is registered for taxes. And then having registered for taxes, we believe that then you are supposed to file your return. And the reason why I was asking, do we have small taxpayers, those ones below 150 million? Because the way we handle them is a bit different. Maybe when we are in this sessions, one-on-one session, probably people will be honest, because you don't want to live here, and get your. But anyway, I'm happy because we need to grow. So being registered for taxes, you're supposed to file right tax returns. Yeah, And then after, you're supposed to pay taxes timely, the correct taxes and timely. Now, maybe just to sum it up, now we call those ones pillars. They are just sum them, registering for taxes, filing the right tax returns, and payment of taxes. We are summing those ones as pillars of compliance. We have so many other things, refunds and what, but those three are the pillars of compliance. What happens when you don't do any of that? We wouldn't want you to be in a, to be taxable. You're supposed to probably register for taxes, and then you are probably sitting on that income. But because of the various systems that we are coming up with, now the country is linked and interlinked. Yeah, Maggie Limited, Maggie, but my short name is Maggie. Maggie Limited, I might decide not to register for taxes, but the gentleman here, say in limited, has registered for taxes and he wants to say input tax. So meaning that because the gentleman has I have supplied the gentleman, this gentleman will want his input tax, but because I'm not registered for taxes, then it means that I'm limiting him from getting his input tax, and then that becomes a cost of operation on his part. So what I'm trying to say is that if we are supposed to be registering for taxes, let us register for taxes. We shouldn't be smoked out, Like now, I'll look into the sort of unlimited, and then I said, but gentlemen, I'm seeing there are some invoices, some transactions which probably about 5 million, and you are expensing these income expenses, but these suppliers are not on the tax register. You know what we shall do? We shall say, please, you are not entitled to this expense, as in, I'm just giving an example, as in we disallow that expense on the gentleman's, in the gentleman's books, which will lead to an inflated cost of business, just because I've decided to hide. Probably, if we are sister companies, and maybe we agree, which wouldn't, be the case. Now, maybe just to conclude, I'm also seeing that local content, when we sit at our offices on 3rd floor, where we expect that if you have any challenge, you are going to go to the platform. There is what we call a touch point. I think you have seen that. It is a touch point. In that touch point, we don't mind whether you belong to oil and gas division. You might actually be registered in Moroto or in Nansana, wherever you are. What you do, you go to the touch point. Any query that concerns oil and gas issues, you're supposed to log on there, put in your query. That query will actually be channeled to our office. So meaning that we are there to help you. Definitely, there's so much. If I'm to talk, I think they call it the house will come talk. Yeah. So I think we shall, have a one-on-one, but please, just to be compliant, we get some taxes so that there are so many incentives actually that you are entitled to. And also, we're only not talking about obligation, but you also have rights. You are we always say obligation, but taxpayers, you do have rights. If you know your rights, probably you will not even fear for some of your friends and others to come and register taxes. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Margaret. I am very delighted to note that we have the big guns in the room, and we are all going to register for tax. But she mentions a very critical point about incentives, the incentives that accrue, that arise from tax registration. So they get encouraged you to make use of her in the breakout rooms. Please try and understand what incentives are applicable to your business. If you're having a bottleneck at some point, maybe the TCC is not coming out, we're going to deal with that in the next round, but I'd encourage you to talk about the issue of incentives in the breakout section. So John, we are now going to talk about standards. All of us hear about standards. I'm sure all of us know about UNBS. And when I was just hearing the people who are represented in the room, we have people from energy, we have insurance, we have tourism, we have catering. So I just want to understand, first of all, are there any standards that are applicable to the services provided in the oil and gas sector? And if yes, what are they and what should people do to ensure that they comply?
Thank you very much. Yeah. Together with our colleagues from different MDAs, yeah, to talk to you. Then, of course, I know some people here, I know him, because we do a lot of work with them. Of course, gender, the labor social development, URA, you can't. Okay, I was saying I know many of these people here. Okay, so if I may talk about standard, you need to first of all understand standard. Okay, why are they important? First of all, they give you 3 or 4 things. They give you either things related to requirements, which are obligatory or mandatory. Okay, like they talked about them in the morning. Those ones, they are a must, no compromise. They can either be guidelines. Guidelines are like to guide you how to do something. Like I have my friend here, Rita. She's involved in tourism. You'll find a lot of guidelines, like a standard for bed and breakfast. It will give you guidelines on how you prepare your small, lodge or something or entity. Then you'll have specifications like water, and then you will also have codes of practice. Codes of practice, let's talk about them briefly, like you'll find OHSE, environmental, and so on and so forth. So what are we doing to support the oil and gas sector? First of all, I would say we have in total, as UNBS, we have developed over 4,800 standards. That's quite a big load, 4,800. But when we come to the oil and gas sector, we have like 3 layers, and we've worked with here, many of them, and IEC, and I'm going to touch each and how they're supposed to help you. In terms of standards for oil and gas equipment, we have quite a number. I think it is around 290. They cover a lot of things, like if you talk about calibration of equipment, inspection of equipment, and materials that have to be used in production, we have them. Then when we come to the area of supply of goods and services, we have like 220. Around 2018, we had a kind of a mapping exercise. PAO, IOCs and IEC, we mapped out over 220 standards that can be used for you when you want to supply goods and services. Just to give you a very quick thing, when you want to implement or use standards, ensure that you understand them. They are in English, the language we speak here. They have a title. Every standard has a title. Like if you go for this standard, it is for mineral water. It will have a title, and it will give you either requirements or specifications. Okay, you need to understand the purpose because you're going to go into a contract. But you cannot go for something without understanding what is needed. Just like you understand the requirements that PAO will give you for you to be a competitive supplier. So they will give you those requirements. They will either guide you or they will give you codes of practice or specifications. Those standards are there. What have we done? One of them is we're inspecting equipment that is coming here. We want that equipment and material to be fit for purpose. Okay, like people, they call it pre-verification of conformity. We are working together. One of the key things in the area of national content inside that project, the objective is that before they allow that company to bring things here, they have to ensure that that country supply for both local, something like that. It's a very good strategy. Okay, we are participating in a lot of supplier development programs jointly, all of us here. Like I was in the other day, we were in Noya, and Masimbi. And we're talking about standards supplier. We're telling them how to understand it. You know, standards like this stuff a lot. They are like a law. You really need to go back and keep reading and you understand the requirements in the law. What is the focus of the law? What are the requirements inside? That's the same with the standard. So we are doing a lot of those. Now, for you who here who want to be certified, I don't know how many have tried certified here. How many have tried to get certified? Because all the products, I mean, all that is in the national content regulation policy, those products that are ring-fenced, the standards are there. How many have tried? Yes? Anything, have any supply, whether a service or product, have you? Okay, now, all the standards are there. Like I said, we have mapped them for you. Okay, we have mapped if you want to supply, whether beans, whether what, whether IT equipment, anything mentioned. It was really an exercise that took us some time. Okay, so we are trying to help you, even coming up with some standards for what they call business development services, where you need to develop internal capacity. Internal capacity, that is one of the things that is stuff that, you know, the things they're talking about here, like having NSSF, what? Those are things that you need to have, you need to develop internal capacity, certificate of incorporation, business. So we are doing those standards. And the other standard we are also developing is once you have developed internal capacity, these are guidelines. The other one is you become a BDS provider. Now that means you are capable of being a good supplier or delivering a business. So basically, I would like to say, I think we're having a very, very good kind of call. We're even going to set up an oil and gas desk with this is the recommendation from them. I think every one of them has here URA, but we don't have one. But I think effective July, we'll have one here within, and then the oil specific region. So you people are really a priority to us, but don't hesitate to come to us. Where you have issues, they are here. We work together, they channel those issues to us where you cannot reach us. I think, yeah, I think at that point, that is what I can say. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. I just had a follow-on question. I'm sure there's someone in the room who is wondering, I'm in the hotels, I'm in the tourism business. Maybe my plan is to set up a hotel in Hoima, for instance. Are you able to talk about the standards to like a deeper, like first of all, where do I get the standard? What is the benefit of getting the standard? So at least we set the base for why it's important.
How many of you are very familiar with our website? www.unbs.go.ug. When you go, you'll see standards somewhere there. And when you click on standards, down you'll find catalog. You have catalogs. All that I've been talking about, supply of goods and services, oil and gas equipment and materials, and so on and so forth. The standards are listed in a catalog. Now in the catalog, if you want bins, you can press bins, dry bins, and it will bring you and it will give you some bit of requirements, but you see the title of the standard number, and the scope. Standards have scopes. That's the first point of reference for you to understand. So they even have a cost. Now, let me talk about the cost, because this is something that is standard. One time we're adopting a standard, ISO 9000. You know, it's an international standard. That standard was costing 600 and I think 70 Swiss francs. How much is that in dollars? You know, dollars and Swiss francs are very near to each other. Must have been somewhere near, but that was costing something like 1 million something. But you know, we are a body that is we are registered, we are members to ISO. So when we adopt, when we become members, we have access to those standards. When we adopt them as a country, the cost reduces. That standard costs only 66,000. So the cost goes down. Now, for those who want bin, the cost is around, I think, 20,000. Now, let me talk about the costs for certification for MSMEs, for SMEs. Originally, when you wanted to test your product, the product costed 2 million. if you wanted to test like water, you are in the big league of the, like those companies like Coca-Cola. But right now, I saw it's 400. For those of you who read news, we're even supporting government projects like the PDM. So out of that, there is issues that come in for us to support SMEs. When you come to certification field, it's 500,000. So if you count in total, if it costs you 4 million, now it's how many times now? 4 times there. So I think that's very good information and encouraging for us to really participate in supply of goods and services. Okay, so accessing standards, you will go to the catalog. Okay, I think, yeah, that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We have an online audience, and I'd request them to just put any questions that they have in the chat, so we shall address them during the Q&A session. Simon, I want us to talk about social security. We've all heard of NSSF, and so previously it was that if you are an employer, and I'm sure everyone in this room is an employer, if you had a minimum was 5 employees, if you had less than 5 employees, you were under no obligation to remit employee contributions. But that has since changed. So, Simon, for the people in this room, I'd just like you to speak to them about the particular things they're supposed to comply with to ensure that their employees are benefiting from the whole concept of NSSF.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Sorry, I wasn't around when they were introducing the panel, but my name is Simon Senko. I'm a compliance auditor at NSSF. So I was tasked by my boss to come and speak about compliance. So I was in the background when they were introducing my colleague, and then sorry, I didn't.
The fun fact.
So I didn't talk about I didn't have a fun fact because I thought about it there, but I didn't have one. Maybe I thought I should share with you one small story in the morning that happened to me in the morning.
Okay.
So in the morning when I was coming home, well, as I was leaving, my young daughter, who has, I think 5 years, asked me that, are we poor people? In the morning when I was leaving. So I asked her why. Now in my car, so it was very dirty. I had passed something yesterday as I was coming, and it was very dusty. So I reached home and the car was very dirty. So she asked me that, are we poor people? I told her, no, we're not. Do you go to bed hungry every night? She tells me, no. So that's an answer. You're not poor people, as long as you can eat. So when we are going to petrol station where I usually take fuel from, there was a car in front of me, and the guy was putting in, I think, it was a very big car, very big. I think 3 or 4 times my size. So he was putting in about fuel close to, I think, full tank, let's say 300 or 400. So I wait for him. He gets his fuel is filled. He goes away. Then I come next, and then I'm telling the pump button and putting fuel for me of 30K. So as she was putting in fuel, my wife looks at me, and then I think we're poor people. The guy in front of us is putting in a full tank, and we are putting in almost not a quarter of his. My God. So why have I brought that is that I believe all of us here who are in this room, you come here for opportunities. You are in pursuit of happiness, I guess, all of us. So you come here to get away from poor to rich, right? So even if it means sleeping in Tilenga, or even if it means sleeping somewhere, or even to get rich, please do, to avoid such questions from your kids. So that's, I think, a funny story I thought I should share with you as I begin my compliance presentation. I didn't make up a PowerPoint presentation because I thought what I'm going to speak about is not so new, completely new. So NSSF, all of us here know about NSSF, and I believe you've heard about it for many years. And guess what? In compliance, there are about 2 or 3 sections that people don't know about it in compliance. And I'm going to be very, very, very brief about them. I'm going to talk about 2 points. How to get a compliance certificate, and then how to, Madam Moderator, am I allowed to move around? because I think it will make me a bit comfortable. So I'm talking about compliance certificates, and then I'm talking about I'm going to talk about also how to treat casual laborers or part-time employees, because most of us here, a big section of us, all of you here, could be in the construction industry or in the logistics business, and those are two of the sectors that require or that need you to be with a lot of casual laborers or part-timers. But let me go back to compliance certificate now. How do you get a compliance certificate and what's its use? A compliance certificate is an equivalent of a tax clearance we usually get from URA when you're maybe asking for a business somewhere in the oil sector. Let's stick to the oil sector or anywhere. So even NSF issues out clearance certificates to companies that come to us and want a clearance certificate. Maybe you're going to use it to get business, you're going to use it to get to acquire a facility from a bank, and they may require you to get one. Now, the first requirement is that you have to be registered with NSF. Previously, I think before 2021, before the law changed, it wasn't mandatory for you to be registered with NSF, as long as even if you had less than 5 employees. So you would get a certificate if you have maybe 2 or 1 employee, and we would give it to you under sole proprietorship. But today, every company, as long as you want a clearance certificate from us, you have to register with NSSF first. Now, it doesn't stop at registration. You have to be compliant. You have to pay NSF monthly contributions, even if you're one person in the company, because I'm sure you must be asking yourself, what if I'm one? So even if you're one person in a company, you have to pay NSSF. Now, after paying NSF monthly, you can qualify to get a certificate. You can qualify to get a certificate. There are exceptionals, of course. There are exceptionals. Because in compliance, because we deal with mostly companies that are looking out for business, we tend to be lenient. We tend to identify with you people, and then we put ourselves into your shoes. What if I've come at a point when my cash flows are at low, and I'm not compliant with NSF? There's what we call a payment agreement with us. So we can always come into an agreement with you. We can assess you and get your outstanding liability, and we can facilitate you with the clearance certificate. So I don't want to scare you off that if you're not up to date with NSF, we shall not support you completely. So, and then if you're also not in position to come into a payment agreement, then I'm talking about now a case when you have a deadline, because I believe in business there are deadlines. Maybe you want to submit your bid somewhere and it closes maybe by 3 p.m. So we have an open window of giving you a certificate on condition that we're going to audit you. So you can agree to come in. You can agree with us to audit you on condition that we give you a certificate, but we give you an audit later. So that one also qualifies you to get a certificate instantly, because our certificates are instant. We don't want to waste your time, because we understand you need business, and our mode of operation is majorly relationship management. We are a bit different from Maggie's. Maggie's, I think, it's more enforcement, right? But us, we are more relationship management. We want to support your business, because we believe that if we supported you, you have a string of straws of insect feeding from you behind. By that I mean your employees and your families, many people, your suppliers, and they all want money from you. So we support you with that, and then we give you a certificate to go and look for business. Yes, now that's how you can get a clearance certificate from NSF, and free of charge. You don't need to pay any money. You don't need to pay anything. I would like to talk about casual workers, because I think that's an example of someone who is in the oil field, and I believe behind him there could be many casual workers behind him. Maybe he's a site engineer and he's responsible for many workers, or he's a business owner and he's responsible for many casual workers, which all of you I think here have. Now, NSF doesn't have a standard definition of an employee or a worker. As long as someone comes to and works for you for 1 day, in NSSF, we treat that person as your employee. Even if I came and I swept in the compound of IEC for 1 day or 1 hour and they are unpaid 10,000 or 5,000, in NSSF you're supposed to pay for that person. And we do not have a threshold, unlike URA where they have a threshold amount. For us, we don't have a threshold. Even if you're paying me 5,000, you're supposed to deduct 5% from there, and you top up for me 10%, and you pay my NSSF. Now, that's a very hard thing, I think, to implement, right? You'll agree with me. It's a very hard thing to implement. And what do I tell you? I don't have a solution for it. Even me, I don't know how it may be all. You can enforce that, but you have to keep it in mind that if I'm using this person for 1 day or 1 week, let's say I've gotten a job in some oil field, and I need about 15 or 20 casual laborers to do for me this kind of work. Put it in mind that you're supposed to register those people within NSSF, and you're supposed to pay for them NSSF, even if they're going to work for you for 1 week or 2 months or 2, however long it is. You have to keep in mind that you're supposed to pay for them. Now, it's easy to get NSSF numbers. I believe all of us here, when you're going to at the first point of recruiting those casual laborers, you get some basic information from them. Let's say their name, you need to know their names, and you need to know maybe where they are, so that you're not recruiting thugs. So by that, maybe you may ask their national IDs. So now, within NSSF, we partner with NIRA, and immediately you get their national IDs. You can register them online. You yourself, if they are not willing to register, you can get, as long as you get their NIN, you can use that NIN to get an NSSF number. So for you to save yourself the burden of NSSF coming to audit you, and we find that you have in your books, you have a very big expenditure on casual laborers, you rather play your part and then you register them yourself, other than sending them or telling them to go and get NSSF numbers, because they may not get them. And they may not even know what NSSF is. So for you to be in compliance with us, register them yourself. Use their NINs, register them with NSSF, remit for them. And then you save the burden of NSSF slapping you with big liabilities of casual laborers. Now, still in compliance, what basically we do away from the clearances and how we treat casual laborers, because I want to stick to what is specific to this particular audience. I may not go into details, the rest of which may not necessarily concern you, but I'll give you a broad picture of what the compliance department does. Besides issuing certificates to companies to support them in businesses, we do audit companies, and we do not have a limit on which company not to audit. We audit every company in Uganda, as long as it's into private sector. We have exceptions of ministries; those ones are into government. So, but as long as you're into private business, or it's a project within a ministry, we have a mandate to audit all of them. So that's our core in the department. And then the third one, we enforce. At some point we do enforcements also, because I told you we are more relationship management, but we also enforce if we believe that you've really been a headache to us. We can do what you are. It does. Some people tend to say no, NSSF are just barking dogs. They don't bite. But at some point we also have we can come and do a seizure on your offices, and we confiscate everything. We have also that power. But because of the nature of our work of relationship management work, we don't want to reach there. Or we don't, and it's on rare occasions that we do it. And I believe all of you here wouldn't want, no businessman, because I believe all of you are businessmen, wishes to go into that situation where URA is going to come, also NSSF is going to come and they seize your office and everything. So, but we have also the mandate to do all that. Now, I need to close my presentation, yes, by telling you that even if you have one employee, please register with NSSF, and then you be compliant with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon. My takeaway is that casual laborers also need to have NSSF contributions being done. And I'm certain a question you're going to get is, what if I don't have a contract of employment with a casual laborer? Does it matter? but we shall keep that for the breakout rooms. Joseph, you spoke about the requirement for businesses to register for workplace certification. Since we are fast spent for time, in 1 minute, could you just summarize what the requirements are to get a certificate? And then just also speak to us about any other support. For instance, if there is, do you register through a website? Are there training opportunities so that the people in this room and the online audience walk away with a good understanding on how to be compliant from a health and safety perspective?
You, moderator. Yes, I talked about workplace registration, and this is mandatory for all workplaces. There are no minimum number of workers, and it's a simple process because as we talk now, it is online. You don't have to interface with anybody. Just interface with your phone, with your computer, and then you get registered. The only time you interface with us is when you are coming to pick your certificate. That is if you are friendly with the technology. But even if you are not that friendly, as long as you are holding a smartphone, you can be able to register. We have a system, it's called OSHMIS, OSHMIS. If you went onto, we have a website, www.osmis.mdsld.go.uganda.uk. Uganda. www. There are 3 W's. Dot OSHMIS. Dot MGLSD, that is the Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. MGLSD. .eo.uk. When you
Joseph, just a minute.
So pose some questions
When he's done.
Yeah.
When let him just finish, then you can come in later.
Oh.
Okay, can go on.
Now interact with that system. You open first of all, you open an account, and then you create your own password. Log on to it using your TIN number. The requirement is that you should have a TIN number. So you must have this. My sister here about it. You should have one of the requirements. Then you should have an email where, because you are interacting with the system and it is sending prompts to you. Okay? You must have an email for you, an email and the working phone contact. Now, when you do that, you interact with the system. There's some people who did pay, but it's not much. Not much, depending on the nature of work. From the introduction, I realized that we don't have very big ones. Okay. Yes. So the minimum is from 150, 200, 300 Uganda shillings. So that is one of the things that you do to help SME. But I wanted also to note that why do we register? Because that question normally comes and say, why are we registering? That question was partly answered by the person from Temple. One of them, the first one is that we want to know who you are, where you are, what you do. In the process of registering, give us some data, how many workers you have, what machinery you have. If you have machinery that is considered statutory, so that we use this data for decision making. The other one is that you enter into the compliance need. You wouldn't want to deal with people who are not registered. Maybe the certificate that you get, much as for us currently we call it the workplace registration certificate, but it's acceptable in many areas. I don't know that we call it compliance certificate because currently for us internally we don't call it. We don't give it to you because you comply with the safety and health standards, but we give it to you so that we know where you are, so that we give you a service. Our law is being revised. Originally, that's what used to say, give you a registration certificate. But as we talk now, we are in advanced stages of getting a new law. We have passed the second reading in Parliament. I think I'm going to put it drafting in the first Parliamentary Council. So we are almost getting it. Under the new law, there is the idea of introducing a compliance certificate in addition to workplace registration certificate, so that we give this one percentage that, as far as you are concerned, you are compliant. Okay? But of course, as you know, safety and health can never give you a blank check. Today you are complying, tomorrow you may not be compliant. So it will have some reservations, connotations. The other one is NTR collection. In the process of registering, we collect some NTR, which you deliver to URA for nation view.
What is NTR in full? What is NTR in full?
And
okay.
So we collect it and deliver it to URA. So when we hear URA announcing that they have collected that, we also have some contribution. The other one is that we do inspections to support, after you have registered you, we do inspections. Our inspections can be routine, they can be spot on, they can be accident investigations. You have had cases, much as we don't want to investigate accidents, but there are cases where we investigate accidents with a view of finding out the root cause and preventing the reoccurrence. Okay. We also do what we call statutory equipment inspection and certification. There are those machines like boilers, refrigerant equipment that are considered very risky. They are time bombs in workplaces. So if you have them, you constantly you have some periodic examination certification. I think it is also can discuss. We do training. We train stakeholders like here. So we do train when we call upon us. When you have workers, we talk to them. Cooperate with the Federation of Uganda Employers, and we move around and train workers and employers on the basics of safety and health at the workplace. We do regulation development, meaning that we also develop standards. We get make regulation, make policies, and guidelines related to safety and health. so that we guide the industry on how best to go about sector. The idea is protecting the worker. However, we are advocates of the worker. Want them to move into your workplace in the step and go away. Whatever they have collected after paying NSSF and whatever and URA, they should not squander it at the next clinic, okay, or the hospital. We do research in various, various OSH standards, OSH hazards. If we get people from our inspections, if we realize that there are issues in particular industry, we make research. Recently, we did one in the power industry. We did one in the paint manufacturing industry. And then we gather the stakeholders and then we tell them the issues and the mitigation measures that they can put in place to avoid such risks. Lastly, like NSSF, we also don't have, the law requires us to, we can prosecute, we can, there are fines, can be imprisoned for not, living up to the standard. But as of now, we chose to move away from policing to persuasion, okay? Because we realized that the safety culture in our country is not very good, it's growing. So we want it to allow it to grow. But of course, if there are cases of where people are going overboard, we bring them to the ministry, we have a tribunal, and if they don't change, we prosecute. I think that's what I can say as of now.
Thank you very much, Joseph. Thank you. I would kindly request the owner of vehicle UBF 301D. If you could kindly just step out of the room. We need your assistance. UBF 301D. Okay. So I note that there is a question at the back. So if you kindly just give us 5 minutes, rather 10 minutes to wrap up, then we shall enter into the Q&A session. Is that all right? Thank you very much. Maggie, as we finalize, you spoke about incentives. So I want you to talk about two things. First, how do they get the incentives, very briefly, and also getting the tax clearing certificate is a challenge. And I know that it's related to a lot of the record keeping of the business. So if you could tell us briefly what the incentives are and how the businesses can become better at their record keeping to ensure that your TCCs are issued in one day, like NSSF. NSSF said theirs is instant. Yeah.
Let me start. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Let me start with the TCC, tax clearing certificates. Because at least all of us in this room, including myself, we get them. So that one is it's essential for each and every one of us. Now for tax clearing certificates, what we have done is that to manage the TCC on a case by case. What happens is that if a taxpayer has been found compliant, what we shall do is that if you need a tax clearing certificate, either to get a permit from the immigration department or get some, issue, you want some issues maybe from PAO or anywhere. What we are going to do is that if we confirm that we've been compliant, probably in the last financial year, we shall issue that certificate to you. Now I'm saying on a case by case. Yeah. Why we are doing that, and that is actually being, it was started, I think, 2 years ago in the mining and petroleum division where I sit. I told you that we handle licenses, exclusive contractors, and probably a few tier 2 taxpayers, because we are also managing the eco project. Why we management decided that it's that a TCC can actually hinder your business. As Uganda Revenue Authority, we are also not here to impact, you know, because just imagine if Petroleum Authority of Uganda needs a DCC, and because you have probably liability, and then we say first to go and pay the liability. No, we are now moving away from that. We are saying we shall issue a tax clearing certificate. Probably if you have a liability that is already confirmed, we shall tell you that please, since this liability is already confirmed, that is if you were probably audited, or there is any compliance initiative that was looked on you and you haven't objected, it means probably you agreed. So what we shall do is for you very fast to agree an installment payment. You will not pay us then, but we shall issue or upload that tax clearance certificate, and you proceed and either get a permit or get, you know, what do you get from Petroleum Authority of Uganda?
Approval.
Yeah, maybe you will be put on the national, yeah. So that is for TCC. However, for non-compliant taxpayers, you know, I told you case by case. This is where you find that a Maggie Limited has a liability in pay as you earn. Maggie has a liability in withholding tax, income tax, and then there are also issues that customs. You get what I'm saying? That taxpayer is a bit different. So that's why I was saying a case by case. So we are asking ourselves that really, if we are non-compliant, probably in all the tax heads, and we also want to support you to, you know, to go to smoothen your business. Now that's where we are saying, let us wait for this taxpayer. Can you imagine? So we wait for you because we want to get you. We believe that if we are going to get a contract of, say, $1 million, and there is a liability of, in those tax types, of, say, 100 million Uganda shillings, that maybe you will go to the bank, get an overdraft, and clear the taxes. So we also wait for you there. But I told you case by case. As I told you that Uganda, all businesses, these MDAs, we are linked and interlinked. Now, that is for TCC. I told you case by case. And you told me you are all registered for taxes. Actually, let us clap for ourselves. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, when it comes to the tax incentives, we have the customs exempt taxes. That one, you know, if like you are importing equipment, plant and machinery that is going to be used in oil and gas, we have that mother exemption where you will not be required to pay any customs duties. Now, the key, maybe the catch point is, how do you benefit from those incentives? There is a guidance that a person who is supposed to apply for those incentives should be the beneficiary. Now, we have customs exemption. Who is the beneficiary of this exemption? If we have a contract between a licensee and the Maggie Limited, who is the level 1 contractor, it means the person who is going to benefit from that exemption is the licensee. However, because there are so many contractors that are importing in items, management has agreed that we are not going to cause licenses to be applying. For that reason, contractors, I believe most of you or us, we are contractors. You have contracts with a licensee. So what you do, you just apply and get that exemption as a contractor. But now we've come up with some kind of procedures, because it means that even Maggie Limited, who has a contract with the licensee, if I also subcontract NM Limited, who is now the tier 1 or even tier 4, even down there, as long as we can prove that whatever items we are going to bring in are required by the licensee, probably at Telenga, and those items have been approved by Petroleum Authority of Uganda. Now here I'm talking about the upstream projects. Yeah, we just have to come up with that master list. If we come up with a master list and probably a recommendation letter from Petroleum Authority, me who is the level 1 contractor, I will just make an application through the touch point I told you, or you write a letter to the Assistant Commissioner Trade, and you will get those exemptions. What they will give you is that they will give you an official communication, a letter giving you that exemption. What are the some of the requirements definitely they will need from you is probably a parking list, that master list, a letter from Petroleum Authority of Uganda if your project is in oil and gas. Yeah, that is how we are managing. And this exemption also goes to the level, assuming you have this level 1 who has a direct contract with a licensee, level 2 if you have subcontracted, probably even level 3, so that exemption was opened. Yeah. Now, when it comes to these other incentives like deemed VAT, yeah, deemed VAT for upstream companies, oil and gas business, the licensee is the one who's supposed to make that application. Why? Because the deemed VAT incentive does not apply to the contractor, but to the licensee. So for that one, the licensee applies. Me who is supplying the licensee, I'm supposed to be refunded. So that is how it is. When you go to the eco projects, they are a bit special because we know that even a level 1 contractor who has a direct contract with the eco company is also considered a licensee. So if you have a direct contract with the eco, you can actually benefit from the deemed VAT incentive. So what you need to do is that you make an application, but the application you are making, if you have a project with ECOP, is for now that subcontractor. Assuming I have a contract with the ECOP, I want to apply for deemed VAT incentive. It means that actually, because I don't want NM to charge me VAT, so I will make the application for NM. So NM will be refunded, but for me, as a level 1 contractor, I will get the VAT incentive. Yeah. Yeah, there are very many incentives actually now for businesses like us who are not upstreamers, licensee. There's another incentive. I think we all are aware of it, is that if we have accurate losses, you know how we start a business, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years down the road, we are loss making. It's not a must that we must be in a payable position. If those losses are actually accurate, we have an incentive that we can utilize those losses up to a period of 7 years. After 7 years, the law, there was an amendment, I think with effect from 1st July 2024. After 7 years, if you've been in a loss for income tax, if you've been in a loss position, what is going to happen? Uganda Revenue Authority, we shall come to you, audit you, and then see that for the last 7 years, you have not been in a chargeable, position, paying taxes in respect to income tax. We shall disallow 50% of your loss. 50% of your loss will be a sunk cost. And then we shall allow you to just accumulate 50% of the balance. However, for the licensees, which I'm saying that, guys, we are special for the licensees, their losses are capped. Upon commercial production, when they start giving us oil, for them, their losses are capped. But unfortunately, us, the Ugandans, okay, and the other maybe companies who are not licensees, we have this accumulation of losses which are not capped. Those are just a few core incentives, probably. The rest we can talk about them.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Maggie. It's clear that I think our breakout room is going to be very full because we need to understand the nuances between the contractor, the licensee, and the different treatments under the different tax heads. So we are 20 minutes to lunch, and I can imagine we are famished. We've been seated for a while. So Paul, what are the key takeaways you'd want people in this room to walk away with in terms of the environmental compliance in just 2 minutes?
Okay, thank you, Madam Moderator, once again. I would know we need to keep our environment healthy and clean, sustainable development. And know all of you to ensure that you comply with the provisions, the relevant environmental laws and the standards. And I talked about acquiring certificates. Yeah, NEMA has assisted, NEMA has automated service delivery, and all those ones can be applied for online. Process is now quick. We have regional officers, which can also get more on environmental management aspects in your respective regions. Feel free to consult NEMA website for environmental laws. Feel free to consult the NEMA technical teams for any guidance on compliance aspects, so that we live in a clean, healthy, and safe environment. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'd like to open the floor up for questions. We had one online, a question online. The request was whether the question was whether we would share the slides. The response is yes. Kindly just type your email address in the chat box. Gentleman at the back.
Thank you. The questions going with the gentleman, who's from the Ministry of Gender, and questions are around workplace legislation. I want to first point out that this is a new concept to me. Yet, this one person who is always asked for information. This has left me wondering why we are this frame. One plus the gentleman. Why? Because we know this government stakeholders, ministries, departments. Sometimes they just wonder whether they are not put up to actually not make money from us. Ugandans, for instance, when you start pointing out the need to the workers, especially people in wonder whether it's not pointing to duplication of services as you are presenting, you also kept on pointing to your sister agencies, trying to show that what you are doing is actually related to what other agencies are doing. For instance, most of the work you do when you are presenting a real life is work that's related to what is MDAs doing. So how do you convince me that it's not about making money from us? And also I want you to point out how this impacts to me, to my company. How does workplace legislation impact what?
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Again, my name is Ndobo Joffrey. I have a couple of questions. And the first one will go to the regulator, PAO. You talked about local content was it local content, not policy, but strategy for organizations. Sometimes when we're bidding for business, they ask that it should focus on either upstream or downstream. So my question in that area is, should we develop a policy or a strategy for every bid, or we should have one that we submit whenever we get a request for a proposal or a bid? That is for you. The gentleman for OHC. Let me first talk to the lady from URA. And you gave us some information about how we deal with casual laborers. But also we have situations where we have consultants. And so I just wanted to understand who qualifies to be a consultant. Do they have to be in my office? Do I give them tools of service, and how are they taxed? And then the OHSC gentleman, how are you handling people who work remotely, those that do not have offices? How are you handling those ones? Do you, for example, those who work from home, do you go and check their homes and then you check to see if they are compliant, their home is compliant for working? And then my last one is from the gentleman from NSSF. What happens in a situation where, because we're businessmen, it's not all the time that we have money to pay people. But I may have money now and then probably take another 3 months. So for those 3 months, I'm not paying people salaries, but when I get the money, I can pay the salaries I've not paid. So in that situation, what happens? Do I submit 0 in the meantime, or I have to be remitting either way? Thank you very much.
My question goes to Mr. James Ojochi. Yeah, I didn't get where the roles of power and the Ministry of Energy, how are they different? Can you please try to clarify on that? Thank you.
Okay, I think let's first take the first 3 questions, then we'll come back to the second round. Joseph, are you ready? Are you ready? No, we first want, there you go. We first want to answer the first round of questions.
Presentation. You're saying that you are hearing it for the first time. Language. But maybe I did not clarify it from the beginning. The Department of Education, Sector and Health. The Department of Education, Sector and Health. The Education Sector and Health Department is an audit department. I think it was formed way back in 1962. Their ordinances and so on. Okay? Then it became the factories inspectorate. Later on, it became the Department of Occupational Hygiene, and later on, in 2000, it became Occupational Sector and Health. And the law that mandates us to register workplaces is as old as 2006. So it's not a new law. And with the laws, the lawyers will tell you ignorance of the law is not defense. These are mandatory obligations where you are supposed to register workplaces. And I don't think there's any other department in this country that is registering workplaces in terms of safety and health. We are the only department. Maybe you are, if the reason was you are not heard of the Occupational Safety and Health Department, that is okay, because we are not very many. The Department of Occupational Safety and Health, first of all, was poorly located in Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. Okay. When we talk about, you don't think there are scientists there, but engineers, medical personnel, architects, okay, in that department. The only reason is that maybe the problem is that we are very few. As we talk now, we are around 26, and our services are centralized. They are never decentralized because of the disciplines that are involved. Okay, and well, I think when the problem we are advocating for expansion, but the resource envelope is not yet there. Okay, but we try our best. But registration, my friend, is a must. You have to register, and it's not a duplication. The other MDAs, UNPS, own environment, but we cooperate. When it comes to standard development, we consult them, they consult us. URA, I just told you that we also, that money that we collect, we take it to URA. We don't even retain a penny. It is from this that services are delivered. So, but the registration is not that hard. I talked about, when I talked about 150, 200, the certificate is for 3 years. If you are a serious SME and you cannot pay 150,000 for 3 years, that is on average 50,000. Yeah? And then you are in good books, and then you'll be able to bid. Okay? You also stand with boys. Okay? With the girls. Because the moment you have that certificate, you may not be bounced by some of these. IEC may not bounce you on their platforms because they will ask you, are you registered with it? In terms of occupational safety and health. As we talk now, the idea is for you to be mindful. The fact that you get that certificate, we assume that at the point of getting it, you are mindful of the occupational safety and health aspects in your workplace. Okay? The hazards associated with it and how we mitigate them. But as I told you, compliance is another one. In future, we may have a compliance certificate. That one may not be obtainable by everybody. Okay? You only get it when you really deserve it. We have been accused of giving workplaces that people think deserve workplace registration certificate. But by law, we are supposed to give every workplace. So you are entitled. You don't have to be 100% as far as safety and health is concerned, because you will never reach it. Even the gurus of the Total and the Vivo Energy have not yet reached 100%. Okay? So we don't wait for you to reach 100% for you to want to give you the certificate, know where you are, so that we offer a certificate, so that we protect our workers. Okay? How are you handling people that are working from home? How do you make sure that people are compliant? That one is a little bit hard. If you are, because but the framers of these laws never anticipated maybe that people work from home. They never anticipated so many cottage industries that are coming up, okay? But as I told you, we have new regulations that are coming. We have sat down and we are sitting down and we are planning to have this issue addressed. As of now, if you are working from your home and you have not disclosed, we will not be able to assist you. Because the idea is, you register with us, then we know where you are, what you do, and then we come and give you a service. But as I told you, the dynamics have changed and we are also going to change. Be able to call you from where you are.
You had a question.
Yeah, you said Geoffrey. So Geoffrey, you asked about a situation where, as a businessman, for the next maybe 2 or 3 months, you don't have employees at all. You're one in the company, right? And around that time, you don't have business. But you're paying in those 3 months. You're paying them. What do you pay them? So you're not paying them anything around that time. If you're not paying them anything around that time, you still file 0 returns. But then just the same way you file payee new returns. So you still file for them 0 returns. Or if you want to pay them in areas, you file those areas as well. I don't know whether you understand me. You promise them that I'll pay you after 3 months. So meaning you've accumulated areas for them. So you file those areas, those returns, then after 3 months, you can come and you have an agreement so that you clear the areas. Yeah.
Okay, that's the question.
Thank you. The question was around this local content strategy. So as a company, you should have an overall local content strategy. But for every particular bid you submit, suppose submit it with a local content proposal, tailor-made for that contract. If I am going to give you a contract to, for example, build a generator room somewhere. So the contract is $2 million, and we will have to submit how many people will employ that contract and how many will be Ugandan. That gives you scores. How much will you subcontract if you're subcontracting, and how much will you spend on purchase of goods and services from Uganda, and you list them. And then, of course, there's some training that may be required. First aid, safety, how much training will you do and to who? So those submissions are key for them, because as the evaluators do, they give them a score, and that score contributes to you winning the contract. So it's tailor-made. The role of PAU and the Ministry of Energy. PAU was born out of the Ministry of Energy, for starters, when all the roles of the oil and gas were being taken forward by the Ministry of Energy under the Directorate of Petroleum that sits in Entebbe. So when it came up and there was a split of roles as per the Act of 2013, the PAU was given regulation. So the ministry creates the policy, sets the laws and the regulations, and gives licenses. So Total to operate, they will apply for a license from the minister. For CNOC to operate, they will apply for a license to the minister. The moment those are done, they now move into operation, and the person to regulate them according to the laws and international best practice is PAU. Then the UNOC for it is like Total and CNOC and the rest. They hold commercial interests. Government in the Total field has 15% stake. They share 70, 80 government in the share takes more, but in having the shareholding, the stake in what it's supposed to contribute towards the development of the field is 15%. In the refinery, it has, I think, 40%. In the pipeline, it has about 15%. In the CNOOC field, it has 15. So when Uganda's oil comes out, the one who will be selling it on behalf of Uganda is UNOC. The one who will be running the refinery in front of, on behalf of Uganda is UNOC. The one who will be running the operations of the pipeline on behalf of Uganda is UNOC. So UNOC is a commercial enterprise, and actually the biggest oil and gas companies in the world are state enterprises, like Saudi Aramco, NNPC, Nigeria. They are the biggest. They are bigger than the Totals and Shells. Thank you.
There are a couple of questions in the middle.
Yeah, thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Osbert Asimwe. I represent Kandela Engineering and Supplies Limited. Now, I want all of us to join me to commend URA for they have been recently they have been hitting their targets. I think much above than expected. But this is the real truth. The truth is that URA is hitting their target because of us, most of us, the SMEs. Yeah, and when you are in your opening remarks, when you asked about what an SME is, you said is a company with a gross income of 150 million. Now, the fact is, all the requirements, for example, from PAU, will require you to submit a VAT registration certificate. And to get that VAT registration certificate, you must have that gross income of 150 million. Now, this is the fact again, because yes, we know we want to run a business, and to run a business, you must comply, like they say. So we go, maybe I'll be not having that money, but I'll go and get maybe the money from somewhere, maybe from a friend, maybe from a bank, just because I need to run the business and I need to be under PAU, I need to get business. Because also in these other companies, the oil and gas companies, they will not give you business when you're not VAT registered. True or false? I think true. Now, URA, especially the IFRIS, you issue an invoice, but URA well knows. I think we are, in this case, URA helps the government to collect taxes. And we also ask the SMEs, help URA to collect the same taxes. True or false? True. Now, URA well knows that most of us do this work or supply these items on credit. But the moment you issue an invoice, URA expects you to pay that VAT. Now, remember, most of us run these businesses maybe on loan. I'll get maybe a loan of 10 million to go and run my business. Now, on top of that 10 million, you're telling me to get an 18% to pay to URA because my client maybe will take 3 months to pay. And the unfair case here is that when you issue an invoice and you've not paid, URA will come to you. They are very sure, and I know they are in touch with those clients because they are also taxpayers. You're sure the client has not paid. Where do you want me to get the money? You get? Because the client is my boss. So I will not go to demand the client every day. You know, we want to protect our jobs also. So URA is putting me on pressure, and maybe in a long run, my business will shut down. I think URA is doing us a disservice because we are helping URA to collect these taxes, but they are putting the burden on us. Because when I don't pay VAT, they'll bring a big letter. They will send to my client, send to the bank, that any money that comes, you broke it. So I think URA has contributed to the fall of businesses. Yes, and I need this feedback to be taken, maybe to be escalated, because we've been talking We've gone to URA several times, but we are not being helped. You also talked about installment payments. This is about compliance, maybe the tax clearance certificate. The other fact is that when you go to URA to get the installment payments, first they will send you to your customer relations. And sometimes I think they are getting a lot of leave. They are not in office. So they will send you to a supervisor. You go to meet a supervisor who has like 10 people who are waiting. So you'll be waiting. And remember, it is about deadlines. I have to maybe submit this TCC in 2 days. So I'm using more than 3 days to get the TCC. Because you got me the supervisor today, they will tell you come tomorrow. Okay, if you meet them and you've done the installment payment, the next day they will tell you it has not been approved. So you have to go back. So those are my concerns. Please help me to address them. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My question is to the regulator, PAU. I was thinking because when you talked about the national content, being that you are making sure that Ugandan companies are participating in the money being made in this sector, I am wondering if there is support that is tailored to, because say, for example, in this sector, there are levels, tiers in participating in these bids. So for us to grow, because if you look across the room, most of us are, yes, SMEs, but also being led by very young people, youth below 35, or because really the population in Uganda is 70% youth now. So I am wondering if there is tailored support for organizations like that, especially for our growth from those bottom being subcontractors to grow so that we can really actually, for it to move from paper to actual realization of these benefits, especially for the youth, but also for women. There's a lot of women here. There's a lot of women-led businesses. Is the national content strategy for the PAU, is there anything tailored for youth and for women? And number two, also, I believe to you, if the people we are in the long run competing with are compliant on international level, international best practice in terms of ESG, environmental, social, and governance. And the oil and gas sector globally has controversies, I should call it that, because people are trying to kick us out slowly by slowly to be replaced by renewable energy. So I'm thinking about the things that could keep us relevant in the ESG sector for the coming years, even as we grow, even as young organizations and companies, to make sure that in the next 5 to 10 years, we are still participating and still having a seat at the table. And then number three is to the gentleman from the Ministry of Gender. Are we able to come to you for support without expecting fines of non-compliance for our companies as we try to develop the health standards for us as individual companies? Because, you know, like, for example, you could never go to, okay, I think you can, but you would fear to go to URA to invite them to your door, give you some sort of support, because, you know, those things that come up with it. So I'm wondering, being that most of us probably didn't expect that the OSH sector is under Ministry of Gender, could we come to you for support, and what can we expect in protection of ourselves if we are late or, you know, having issues with compliance? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Benjamin. My question goes to Maggie. I want some clarification on withholding on income tax and withholding on VAT. Because sometimes at the end of when you are issue an invoice, you give it to a client, it deducts 12%, yet we know that withholding tax is 6%. Then you ask them, they tell you we have withheld on income, and again we have withheld on VAT. So I need some clarification on that.
Okay, thank you. That marks the last question.
Yes, thank you very much. Sean, once again, question goes to Mr. John Chaze. from UNBS. You've talked about the several standards you've developed, but when we are bidding, we are told that we have to follow the international standards like API, BSI, ISO. So I'm wondering to get more educated about these standards, because these other standards are very expensive. And then to the gentleman of NSSF and the lady from URA, when we're bidding for contracts, especially at tier 1 level, we have to follow certain procurement schedules. So they have talked about national content. So you're supposed to make the proposal stipulating exactly what you're going to buy, the value, and all those things from the Ugandan company. But now the challenge is from all the aspects of compliance you've talked about. When you look at the NSSF clearance certificate, it's blanket, doesn't show how many workers this person has. And there have been instances where someone is remitting for maybe some or part of the employees, and then the others, they have not been remitting. Then you find that for these small procurements that you have to do from the Ugandan companies, they are not maybe giving out the FRC invoices. They say they can't do this. So there's really a lot of work to do, because it gives us a lot of headache if we have now come and start teaching people that you're supposed to comply with this and comply with this. Because if you bypass the small companies, maybe you'll have less red tape. So, but we need to support them so that we can improve the national content, they can supply goods, and we don't have a lot of friction working with them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So that will be the last round of questions. Once they're responded to, we shall have our panelists from NSSF and UNBS giving us their closing remarks. We shall then break off for lunch, and any other questions that have not been addressed will be addressed in the one-on-one interactions. So I'll start with you, Maggie, for your many questions.
Maybe let me start with a question from Godfrey. Godfrey had an issue of how casual laborers and consultants, how they are taxed. Yeah, maybe that is one, casual laborers. Casual laborers, and please get me right. Casual laborers, as somehow, for some reason, I don't know, it has become a challenge when it comes to pay-as-you-earn compliance. We only need in the pay return all those individuals that are above the threshold. So if you have casual laborers and below threshold, meaning that you probably have an internal control system where you have set time sheets. You have your casual laborers like 1,000, okay, let me just say 50 in your time sheets, because like you have to manage them. So that you have at the end of the month, if you find that 15 probably did not, according to your contractual, arrangement, cannot actually, they are not above the pay threshold, meaning you are not supposed to be returning them declaring them in the return. Now, this is now where the challenge is. What we need you to do is that you must have a database or an Excel sheet. Okay, now MSC, an Excel sheet where you will show I know for you, Godfrey, the way you are saying, definitely you have proper records. So you have your Excel sheets that are linking into this Excel that are showing that ABCD up to say 50 are casual laborers, but on a monthly basis, probably 15 are above the pay threshold. So in that month, you're required to declare those 15 out of say that 50 on the payroll. Where we are getting probably difference is now for me, I will not expect you to declare those other guys who are below the threshold in your pay return. However, because you have a good system where you can actually consolidate and say in a given month throughout the year, there is this cost that relates to casual that you are going to book into your income tax return as an expense in respect to say that wage, we want to audit it. So where we are going to start from, we are going to start from the pay return as everyone actually, all your staff as they sit in their desk, they start from the pay return and try to consolidate to get the gross amount, then they will compare with the wage bill. Definitely, someone will be very fast if they don't know your business to say, there is a variance because you declared 15 out of 50 because those were above the threshold. But in essence, you had so many throughout the year who are not meeting the threshold, maybe because you didn't need them in a particular month, and you have a big wage bill. Now, when you get that variance, when they question you, when they tax you, we expect that you have that documentation that will link into, and we have actually been resolving that. However, NSSF will say whether the person is below the threshold or not. You must have that Excel sheet where they want you to remit NSSF even if the person has worked for 1 day, which, as we are saying, that is not required if you are to declare. But what we need now, you consider that is documentation. Godfrey, is that okay for casual labor? Now, the other issue was on consultants. For a long time, Uganda Revenue Authority, we had seen or scoped a risk that our companies, SMEs, and any other companies were contracting consultants and charging withholding tax at 6%. So we had scoped that one as a risk because we thought that when a consultant is being charged 6% only, and we don't see, because 6% in instance is supposed to be advanced tax, but then we are not seeing this other consultant claiming their advanced tax, then that's where we are so actually collecting a lot of money from that. Now, when the taxpayer, I think Godfrey you must have been one of them. When the infectious disease you took us to court, the High Court has ruled that even when a consultant is earning this fixed rate, monthly rate, which we actually had been using as a test to charge pay as you earn, the High Court has ruled that we have consultants like maybe lawyers who are earning retainer on a monthly basis, and they have that fixed remuneration. So Uganda Revenue Authority, we had to go back. Now we are saying, okay, fine. It is okay if that consultant has negotiated the contracts for service, then what we are expecting, to the extent that the High Court has guided, that consultant in essence is not actually supposed to be supervised. They have their own tools. That guidance was given, and we are supposed to be following. However, we are saying also not to ensure that there's this tax planning, because now the court ruling has fixed our hands. We are saying if it is a consultant, true, and you're supposed to be charging 6% and not pay as you earn, we expect these. From this consultant who has a contract, we expect that this consultant is supposed to be issuing you a proper invoice. If this consultant is not, doesn't meet the VAT threshold, he must be issuing a proper invoice with a tax, with a TIN, meaning it should be registered for taxes. Then me, as Uganda Revenue Authority, we are supposed then to follow this other tax consultant who has a TIN, and then we see how he's actually submitting his global income taxes. But for you, you will be actually, you can go ahead and charge 6%, but to the extent that this taxpayer is issuing you a proper tax invoice. If this consultant, we believe that according to our database that is supposed to have registered for VAT, Godfrey, we believe that this consultant is supposed to be issuing you an IFRS invoice. So now those are the issues which you, yes, if the tax consultant, that tax consultant who's giving you consultants services for which you are charging 6%, if we confirm from the supplies it's giving you, if we confirm that he meets a VAT threshold, meaning that maybe in any 1 year is issuing invoices to an amount which is above, say, 150 million, we expect that this taxpayer is supposed to have registered for VAT, and then anyone who is registered for VAT is supposed to be issuing IFRS invoices. So that's what we expect. But if he's giving you, lower services with the low values, we expect that this tax consultant is issuing you a proper tax invoice. It may not be an IFRS invoice, but with a team, so that as we can proceed and try to, to go and see whether it's also compliant with the respective taxes. Okay. Is that okay? So, and then there was a gentleman who said, yes, the SMEs are supporting us. Thank you so much. In fact, the entire members here are all registered for taxes. It is true. It is true. I actually asked as we are beginning that do we have members who are below 150 million? That was the question, but no one raised their hand. And definitely, I wanted to tackle issues of presumptive taxes, because at that point, such members or companies or businesses or individuals would be in the bracket of presumptive taxpayers. And the presumptive taxpayers who have records and those without records are also have a way, they are the way we govern or we administer them. Now, since the gentleman, I didn't pick your name, you have said that PAO requires that you definitely must be above 150 million. That submission actually just confirms that Petroleum Authority of Uganda, for you to be approved on the National Suppliers Database, you must not be a presumptive taxpayer. Yeah? Not true? Okay. So, but is it only taxpayer? Yes. Okay. So now maybe now we need all to read the PAO website, because Petroleum Authority of Uganda said that's not true. Even in presumptive taxpayers who are below 150 million, as long as you have a tax clearance certificate, you can actually be approved and registered on the national database. So this issue of Uganda Revenue Authority, we are really distorting businesses. It shouldn't be true. Why? Because we have also seen so many companies having a challenge, especially companies that are supplying government, where we see that for government, sometimes they take 6 months or not even a year, probably 3 months and above, to pay for the supplies. But we are also thinking that if you are a big taxpayer, yeah, we have, and you are not below this other threshold, because we have cash, we have a cash basis for VAT, and we also have an accrual. But from your submission, sir, I believe that for you are on an accrual basis. That's why, for sure, other than the cash basis, where I would be expecting that you actually account for VAT when you are paid, for you, when you tick the accrual basis and confirming that you are above the threshold of the cash accounting, we really have to help you. It's so unfortunate that even when you got your installment payments, there were some delays in the TCC, but that is just unfortunate. That's not how we work. But I'll take this up. I'll take this up. I'll take this up. Yeah. Yeah, because the gentleman is on accrual basis. For sure, accrual basis, the moment you take accrual basis, you must pay the taxes as soon as they fall on the due date. However, if the taxpayer clicked cash basis, it is a different issue. I don't know whether it was a question or it was a submission for me to take home. Okay, this one I'm going to escalate. The delay in the TCCs, when even installment payments have been negotiated, I'm going to take this up. Yeah, this one I'm going to take it up. I just need to talk to you and you give me the office. Probably either the people are understaffed or something, because this is something that we shouldn't actually be hearing, because delaying a taxpayer TCC actually affects the taxpayer's business. So if you can give me the tax office, I can proceed. And yeah. Okay. Now, finally, okay, there are two withholding tax on income, which is 6%. How is it different from withholding tax on VAT, which is at 18%? So the question I think there was, what is the difference or something? Withholding tax at 6% is supposed to be reconciled at the end of the year, because this is advanced income tax that is supposed to be withheld on a supply for as long as the supply is above 1 million. So meaning that at the end of the year, when you are filing your income tax, Uganda Revenue Authority, through our ledger and all other compliance initiative, we are supposed to reconcile and ensure that this 6% advance tax that has been paid at the end of the year of income is reconciled. But how is it different then with withholding tax on VAT at 18%? This withholding tax at 18% is managed on a monthly basis. That means that, and I wanted to first ask this one before I answer. I wanted to first ask from members in this room. Are there taxpayers here in this room who have been filing returns and they have been this 18% withhold, 15% VAT that has been withheld from them? I just want by show of hand. Like when you're filing a return, so we have only one. We have two types of taxes. We have the withholding tax at 6%, and then we have also the withholding VAT withheld. Yeah. So okay. So by show of hand. Okay. Yeah. I wanted maybe this one we shall escalate it, because I wanted to see how when you are filing what happens. So this one we are going to escalate it to the so now there's another last one, the tier one level contracts at procurement. Yes, Mr. This one, as long as NSSF is also coming up, I'm very sure, with some kind of probably requirements, because the oil and gas is dynamic. But it is true, if you are requesting for either deemed VAT as an incentive and you're a tier one contractor, we would definitely need that IFRS code that should be aligning with the services that you are applying for. Else, if this IFRS cost is not aligning with the service or goods that you are applying for, the approval or application for your deemed VAT will be rejected. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. If there are any other questions, you can speak to her in the breakout sessions. There's a question for you, Jim.
It's done. What product was that? Someone said that when you supply, they give you standards that are inferior. Those are the inferior standards. What product was that? Or what product was it? The service. Which service? For analysis. Now, let me tell you what I know. And this is what we agreed. There was a meeting convened some time back by POW, where Temple was, and I think contractor. We agreed that a Uganda standard or a national standard takes precedence. Now, where there is no national standard, then we can now, okay, say, let's use an international standard, because an international standard is used elsewhere. Where there isn't a standard, then the regulator guides on that. Now, in the ideal sense, once something like that happens, you're supposed to engage power. Because the similar, I think, is you remember the choice big, those choice standards, the way we sorted, and other cases, I think. So you were supposed to inform them, then they can engage us, because they're supposed to determine which standards are used. Though we develop standards, we don't implement them in that sector directly. We do that jointly together. So at least I would request that when something like that happens again, please try as much as possible to engage them, because actually I think you do a post in that area also to ensure that, you know, we participate. I'm not going to exclude myself. We participate in what? In supply of goods and services. Let me hope that answers you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. For him.
Thank you. There were two quick ones. One,
Thank you.
the support tailor-made for youth and women. Ideally, as a regulator, the capacity development initiatives should be outside the realm of the regulator, but because of the gap that was there, the PAU took it upon itself to begin deliberate strategies to promote both youth and women. We have written a proposal to African Development Bank, and last year they gave us a grant, which was specifically targeting youth and women capacity development and training for those businesses along the East African crude oil pipeline. We are going to engage a phase 2. We have written another proposal. Hopefully, we also are successful so that we focus on training youth and women businesses. But in addition, this center that is here, and I think the project management coordinator is here, or project management people are here. It is supposed to identify also and train businesses of that nature for them to participate in oil and gas, and I'm sure they will do it. We'll do an evaluation. The PAU sits on the steercom, so we'll make sure with Total that that element is addressed. 2, the sustainability aspects with the ESG that is coming up. 1, I want to give you assurance that oil was produced 1900. Over 120 years, oil has been produced, and it's not about to stop being produced. Actually, with last year's noise and when Trump came back, I think production has like tripled. The uses of oil are more than just mere transport. Everything, medicine, plastics, clothes, aspirin, everything. The transport is actually about 38%. So the use of oil and gas is here and here for a long time. But the aspect of the company staying in a sustainable business, the beauty is that when you offer a service for oil and gas, it does not specifically lie into oil and gas only. These are also gone in other sectors. The beauty is that when you work in oil and gas, you put your level at a certain kind of class that you're able to easily win bids in other sectors. And we've been discussing with Standard Gauge Rail, which is benchmarking and wants to pick companies that have been working in the sector to work in building this SGR. We have also witnessed companies not only stay in Uganda, some have crossed now to Mozambique, some have crossed now to Tanzania because of the experience they have had in oil and gas. So sustainability, and we're also now looking at linkages. We're doing a study to see how to link the oil and gas with other sectors, tourism, transport, and what, and there we shall plan for companies that there is enough food on the table, even when the oil production in Uganda goes down. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There is a lady who asked about with the ministry, how will the ministry deal with the non-compliant? Will Will they get non-compliant fines if you came to the ministry? I can say no as of now. Come, we are ready to support you. Yes, there are a number of services that you pay for highly elsewhere in the so-called consultants. Okay, things like HSC management system, educational sector and health policy formulation, risk assessment, chemical handling, emergency preparedness. I can say that we have experts at the ministry, in the Department of Educational Sector and Health, who are able to do that. I don't know why Ugandans don't value things that are done for free. You come and test that. The government pays us to do that work. You come and we assist you so that in those areas and other. I mentioned that the department is poorly located. Well, for visibility, it's poorly located, but the framers of the name, I think, were right. Because when you enter into that ministry, it's a ministry that is catering for the vulnerable groups in this country. Women, at one time I think over one people, I don't know whether it's children, elderly, people with disability, orphans, people living with HIV/AIDS, senior citizens of this country, and the workers. Sometimes people don't appreciate that the workers are vulnerable. But in the world of work, there are three players in tripartite: an employer, an employee, and government, who is the regulator. Of the three, who is more vulnerable? So the worker needs to be protected. So it's not wrong that the department was put there, okay? And all the other labor and whatever. Okay? So we are poorly located for visibility, but institutionally, we're in the right place. Please come for free services. Those that you pay for elsewhere are highly to be saved. Let me also talk about casualization. As a person who comes from the Ministry of Labor, I've heard you people talking about casual labor. Yes, it is true. There's the rest of casualization of labor. I think it is the trend. Okay. Contract. At times you call them contract workers. But you are misusing, the word contract worker. Being casual does not mean that you don't give them contract. Okay. And by the way, the Employment Act safeguards the contracted worker, but safeguards more the uncontracted worker. By you not giving a contract to your worker, don't think you are running away. When that person comes to the ministry, the law that you believe what the worker says. You had an opportunity to pen the things down and have a contract where you would put the terms and the conditions. You didn't. So if a worker came to us, we shall believe what the worker said. If you have been paying him 200,000 and he says we agreed 1 million, that's what we will take. You will not have any chance. All the time to sit down with the worker, and the good thing that as we talk now, we don't have a minimum wage. What are you fearing? Please give those people contracts. It is an illegality that we are facing in the ministry. Okay, it is true. The trend is towards contract and the casualization, but even if you don't give them the moderator of contract, but if they are not contracted, please, they are your workers. For us, actually, at the ministry, whatever you talk about work, for us, we know them as workers.
and we advocate for them.
Thank you so much. In 1 minute, I'm going to ask representatives from UNBS and NSSF to make their closing remarks, and then we shall finish the panel session.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, our moderator and everybody. What I can say is that as UNBS, we are very open to you to support you, most especially when you want to supply goods and services. Just like we've seen, the standards are there, the requirements are simple. They're just like they've been saying, team, certification of registration and incorporation, and then a few things we have been applying. Our value proposition for SMEs is to support you. That is it. I cannot add anything more than that in whichever way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. In my closing remarks, I would like to answer a gentleman's question who asked about our clear certificates. Unfortunately, our certificates are all standard. The certificate we give you is the same certificate we give a very compliant company, and it's the same certificate we give a low compliant company. So it may not necessarily qualify you or give you an added advantage in your pay. But the good thing, we put a reason for giving a certificate. So whoever you're taking it, they will know the reason, whether you're very compliant or you're under a payment plan or something like that. So it's a standard certificate and it expires after 1 month. I would like to close by telling you we have a new product. It's called Smart Life Flex. It's a target. It's mostly for target savers. You can always enroll on that product if you're still a one-man company. You can utilize it to save, and you can always withdraw your money whenever you want. Unlike the other benefits where you qualify, you have to meet some standard requirements to get your money back. So kindly enroll for that Smart Life Flex. It's a good product for all of us here. Thank you.
Okay. And on behalf of the panel, I'd like to thank all of you for your active participation. Thank you so much for listening to us. The takeaway is that compliance is key. The regulators are working together, as you can see. So please take advantage of them, ask questions, and grow your business so you can benefit from the oil boom. Thank you so much.
The panel today. Ladies and gentlemen, we must apologize that we are long overdue, but we thought this is very important for you to interact and ask questions. For the online audience, don't fret, we are going to address your questions a little bit later on. Now some guidelines for how the event proceeds. For starters, we are kindly requesting that you scan the QR code and give us some feedback on the event. We would really appreciate that we make your next event more meaningful and worthwhile. Also, since this is really a networking event, we are calling upon you to mix and mingle, interact in the few minutes to lunch. We are giving it around 10 to 15 minutes so that you can, for example, we request that you share with us your business cards as the IEC. You could share with your neighbor, also share with me, interact, and discuss a bit on how you can become B2B partners. We shall have a group photo in about 10 minutes, because we are also looking at give the networking something start, so that if you want to follow it up, at least you can use the lunch break. Now, for those who have one-on-ones and require further customized support, we request you to stay behind, please. We shall have the regulator stay behind a little, URA, the elephant in the room, will stay here. URA, so please feel free to interact with them. And then in the next room, that is Kaiso Tonya, we shall have Ministry of Gender, Labor and Social Development. If you still have any issues for follow-up, please approach them. In the rooms to the right as you come in, there is one called Jury and the Resource Center. We shall be able to guide you. We shall have the other stakeholders, UNBS. In one room, there shall be UNBS and NSSF. And then I think with all these be covered. And NEMA and UNBS will be on the right side of the IEC center. So for now, Please feel free to interact a bit, stand up, and then share something with us of course, and then as we get ready for our photo session there. Thank you very much for coming, and thank you very much to our online audience for attending today. We hope that the session today was meaningful. We look forward to welcoming you again. Please don't forget to give me your cards and look forward. The lunch will be open in 10 minutes. We want to kickstart the networking so that we are able to maybe for the facilitators, the people would already go and then come back, and the people can attend to you. Thank you very much. DJ, take it over for the break.